Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close, I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to haters. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
Is Hollywood for ugly
I
people.
think it's 7.5. But here's what I will tell you. Again, for you guys, Tom, for you guys tuning in today, Tom is complimenting Hillary Clinton, which is a very weird way to start the podcast, but it is what it is. We're having a lot of fun. We're about to make a massive, massive announcement about the Vault Conference keynote speaker. When it's announced, you're going to lose your mind. And not only that, if SLS sold out 7 weeks before the event, the Vault's about to sell out when we make this announcement. So hang tight. 10,000 people, one room, Palm Beach Convention Center. I'm going to make the introduction. We'll talk about the stories. Then I'm going to come back and tell you who the speaker is, and then we can start the podcast. So having said that, today, he may be. I mean, listen, there's a lot of ways to introduce him. He's, of course, a husband, a father, a patriot, a Christian, a co-host of Fox and Friends, America's #1 cable morning show, and he has multiple Fox Nation documentaries, graduate from both Princeton and Harvard, which is, we have to address that. That's, it's an issue nowadays, but maybe he's got a different angle on it. He is the New York Times bestselling author of The Arena, Modern Warriors, American Crusade, and Battle for the American Mind. He's an Army vet of Iraq, Afghanistan, and Guantanamo Bay, has earned 2 Bronze Stars and a Combat Infantry Man's Badge. He's got this book out here right now that we have. We'll put the link below as well, The War for Warriors, The War for Warriors. But I think the one thing that he has, the reputation that he has, based on when I'm talking to other people, you can't say this about everybody. He may be the sexiest man on TV. I think that's what it is, right?
He walked into...
seriously, he walked in, people passed out. We had people that didn't even know there was a lineup outside. I'm like, dude, relax. This man is married.
Yeah.
He's got a family.
Yeah.
He's a Christian.
Yeah.
This is not the right behavior.
Yeah.
So it's great to have Pete Hegseth on the podcast today.
It's great to be here. I'm a fan of you guys. I appreciate what you do. And I just want to note that you said that, and Jesse Waters was on your show just a few weeks ago. So I'm going to remind Jesse of that.
Yeah, please.
No, you have to tell him that.
Yeah,
it's very important.
Of course.
I think he's good looking. But listen, there's difference between good looking and sexiest man on TV. And that's a man telling you with 4 kids. So you normally a woman would say it. You got to take that street credit. Anyways, we got a lot of stories to go through. One of the ones we'll definitely talk about as somebody who's gone to Harvard. Let me give you some of these stories. Harvard to stay silent on issues that don't impact university's core function. I really want to know what he's got to say about that. Next story, despite surprise boost in consumer confidence, recession fears rose in May. Check this one out. Real estate agents are fleeing the field. Is that good for home buyers? This is a WAPO, Washington Post story. A lot of guys are leaving the industry. Stephen A. Smith's fans are slamming Stephen A. Smith for his take on sports media landscape. We'll talk about that. Musk just raised $6 billion in his latest funding round for XAI. What's he doing with that? By the way, ChatGPT 4 is better than humans at financial forecasting, new studies shows, which is wild. Blackstone CEO to back Trump cites economic concerns, which is why he's supporting him, as well as rise of anti-Semitism. Silicon Valley investors embrace Trump after years of leaning left out to beat Trump. RFK inching towards qualifying for the Trump-Biden debates. That's going to be interesting if there's 3 of them on stage. And if he's getting closer and closer. Vito Corleone came out campaigning for Joseph Biden in New York. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Gangster.
Very interesting. Yeah, intimidating, obviously. But he was there. De Niro's chaotic Biden campaign conference garners mockery on social media. Disaster for Democrats. By the way, there's a horn in the background every time he's speaking, and he's just getting more and more upset. And a few people had choice words to say about him, right? Yeah. We had to lose it. Rob, I don't know which clips we got. I know we'll go through them. Another story here about another Pete Buttigieg can't explain why Biden has only built 7 or 8 EVs, even though these charging stations, they claim they were going to build 500,000. They're 499,993 short of hitting their goal. It's problematic. Michael Cohen is so ethical that he's now planning on running for Congress, and he's got a new book coming out after testifying against Trump. Nikki Haley signs on IDF bomb during visit to Israel. Finished them. The world's largest pension fund maybe running dry. That has to do with China, by the way. Pope apologizes after being quoted using vulgar term about gay men in talk about ban on gay priests. By the way, I don't even know if I can say the words on here. Can I or can I not?
Actually, we shouldn't. I think we should just refer to the
word.
We'll
let them read it.
I mean, if you're quoting
but the way he says it, man, I mean, in context, it is pretty funny. It's like a comedy. Have you seen this or no? It's very funny.
I haven't heard it.
It's like he's doing stand-up.
UFC star is planning on homeschooling his kids. You have to see why. Cardi B hits back at Candace Owens. Candace Owens wants to ban pornography. That was her suggestion. Cardi B had a problem with that. We got a couple clips to play here for you from Dwayne Wade and a few other reactions we'll get to. But aside from that, let me get right into the announcement. So here's what we're doing. Vol Conference is a conference we do once a year. This is our 5th official Vol Conference. The first one we did was in Dallas. 450 people showed up. This one's going to be 10,000. Last one we had 2,500 people at Palm Beach at the Diplomat, which we had Tom Brady at. Unbelievable event. 3 days, 3.5 days. 200-page manual, entrepreneurship, raising capital, PEs, VCs, executives, salespeople, consulting firms, 180-plus different industries. That was last year. And I told everybody last year, this year was going to be magical because we're doing it in Palm Beach Convention Center. AV is going to be magical. We've invested so much investments on back end for this event that's taking place in Palm Beach. And we have been trying to get together, me and this other guy that you guys probably know. Finally, we agreed to do this. He agreed to do this. He's all over the world. He's got a message he wants to tell you guys being at the Vault Conference. Rob, if you got the clip ready, go ahead and play this clip. Go ahead and play this.
Get out of here, dude.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson here, man. I am pumped. I got some big news to share with you guys. I cannot wait to join all of you guys down there at the Vault Conference in Palm Beach, September 4th through the 7th. I'm going to be sitting down with your host and my good buddy, Patrick Bet David. We're going to chop it all up from leadership, entrepreneurial spirit, business strategy. We're going to chop up our journeys. We're going to chop up so much more, including all the various industries that we have been lucky and fortunate enough to build enterprise in. So I cannot wait. September 4th through the 7th. It's going to be a historic conference. I cannot wait. I will see you down there, Palm Beach. Back to work for me because the rent is always due.
The most electrifying man on earth will be at the Vault Conference. 3.5 days. And by the way, it's going to be absolutely insanity. We had a conversation over the weekend about the fact that, hey, everybody's been saying, hey, can we one of these days do podcasts together? So the first time we're going to do anything together, we'll be at the event, 90-minute conversation. And some of you guys may even get a chance to meet him, picture. Who knows? Who knows what things? There's going to be a lot of weird announcements we'll be making. Here's all I will tell you. This is not the last year, if you guys remember at the Vault Conference, how many husband and wives attended? It was hundreds of husband and wives. Some people brought their sons, like they were coming as a family, legacy planning. What do I do? Business partners. There's a couple people this year that are planning on bringing 100 people, their entire company, executive team, sales team. So it's going to be wild. Looking forward to it. This is not an event to come by yourself, but make sure you get yourself, your spouse, your business partner, your team registered to attend the Vault Conference, because I'm telling you right now, when this sells out and you call the consulting firm and they tell you we don't have any more tickets, you cannot be upset, because we're not bringing The Rock back next year. We're only going to do this one time at the Vault Conference, and I hope you get to join us. Get registered. We'll see you guys there. Having
We're
said
going to
that,
smell what The Rock is
are
cooking.
you
smell
by the way,
PBD
what he's telling me, when we're talking privately, he says, this is going to be the sickest thing we've ever done together. He says, I'm so he's so excited to attend the event. It's going to be fun.
I want him to body slam me on one of the tables.
Is that fine? You're probably going to do a skit with him.
Oh, for sure.
By the way, you have to realize this guy is the highest paid actor. Okay, 125 million a year, whatever the number was. This guy's got 500 million followers. Okay, this is a guy that if he wanted to run, he's formidable. He could run if he wanted to. There's a lot of people that think about him running, and he's kind of like a center-right guy. Even though recently with Will Kane, when they sat down and spoke, will you be voting for the same person? He said, I'm not. So he's going through his own set of evolution. You know, I would say he's a billionaire. If not, they haven't announced yet. He's soon to be. A lot of different things. And he went from $7. And the reason why I'm bringing him and another speaker that some people are going to say, why are you bringing these guys? I think everything right now, if you're building a business and you're building a company, you got to get good at storytelling and marketing. So this was the clip. If you want to play this clip, Rob, how long is this clip?
45 seconds.
Yeah, you can play this clip before we get started.
You made that endorsement in 2020. Are you happy with the state of America?
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. And I thought back then, when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence, and it's my job then. I felt like that then. It's my job now to exercise my influence and share with this is who I'm going to endorse. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no.
Wow. You used the right word for The Rock. You said the evolution of Rock, because I remember in 2020 when we talked about The Rock, the video of him like, where is he? Yeah. Where is he? Almost he was getting like Christian Bale Batman vibes about Trump. Just to see him going to this part now, unbelievable. PBD, I don't know what you got planned up your sleeve.
I can't even tell you what.
Last year with Brady, Mike Tyson, and everybody's favorite, Will Guidara.
Yeah.
From the restaurant business. Wow.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. But today is about Pete Hegseth. It's great to have you on. So
great to be here.
Let me go through the first story. I mean, again, we got a lot of them we'll go through. So first story, Harvard to stay silent on issues that don't impact universities' core function, right? University's core function. Okay, so when we hear a story like this with Harvard, for the longest time, many of us, when we think about Harvard, we think Oxford, it's the pinnacle, right? Cream of the crop where you go to, where you put that thing on the wall and you brag about it. This story is a CNN story. Harvard University announced it will no longer weigh in on public matters that don't impact the Ivy League school's core function, following a working group's conclusion that Harvard must defend the university's autonomy and academic freedom when threatened, but should not issue statements on matters that do not directly affect the university's core function. The working group's report warned that the integrity and credibility of the institution are compromised when the university speaks officials on matters outside its institutional area of expertise. This decision comes after former President Claudine Gay stepped down and controversy and plagiarism allegations arise. Thoughts on this story?
Well, it says unless it affects the university's core function. What is the core function of Harvard University at this point? Nobody really knows.
It's a hedge fund with classrooms.
100% correct. You mentioned that I graduated from Harvard. It's true. But what you missed is that about 4 years ago, live on Fox and Friends, I brought my Harvard degree on set, and I tore it open.
No way.
Pulled it out, and wrote Return to Sender on it.
Nice.
Crossed out Harvard University and wrote Critical Theory University, and I mailed it back to him.
Are you kidding me?
100%, live on the air.
Holy, is this clip up there, Rob?
It's out there somewhere, because I refuse to be associated with that institution any longer. Because we can't be holding up the lunacy of places like that as the height of excellence of what we want for our kids when it's poisoning the minds of. And you know what the moment was that broke it for me? And there could have been any number of them. And at this moment is the way they treated Jewish students, which is
that's the one.
There it is, right there.
Nice.
It was the moment they announced. Remember, Harvard University was founded to train ministers. That's what it was originally founded to do. When they announced their new chaplain for the university was an atheist. I thought, you know what? You don't really know what your core function is here, do you? I'm done. I'm done being associated. And I think we have to. These universities are gone. This is a lie from Harvard. Of course, they'll weigh in on everything they think is follows their progressive ideology. They just got caught when it came to Jewish students in Israel with extreme bias.
Let me ask you this. Like, sometimes what's the one movie? Untouchables, right? Like, you can't do nothing to them. Oh, we're untouchable. Or, certain people reach saint status. There's nothing you can do about them. They're saint status. How consequential could this be to Harvard with the types of decisions they've made? Obviously, the last 8 months, we're talking since October 7th, but also during COVID, the last 4 years, when they said, yeah, you know what? Even though your kids are not going to be staying on campus, you still have to pay the full price. While their money accounts getting bigger and bigger and bigger, how consequential could this be for Harvard?
It could be. I hope it's massively consequential. They've seen application numbers drop, so families are deciding, okay, it isn't the pinnacle to try to go to Harvard. I also think businesses, and you know this better than I do, they see the types of students they're getting, law firms, the type of lawyers they're getting, and they're not getting constitutional scholars, they're getting activists. And they said, you're actually creating more problems inside my corporate culture and my business than you are adding value to it, because you decide to come in and spew your DEI nonsense to me and your grievance matrix. So it takes a while. I think abandoning these institutions, letting them become just woke cesspools is fine. They are what they are. We just have to create our own institutions that actually have the right core function.
Tom, what do you think? Rob, I'm going to send you this thing here because Ken Griffin, we all know who Ken Griffin is. I think he's a 20 or $40 billion guy. He's got money. So if you guys are thinking about starting a GoFundMe, he's going to be okay. So this guy, who, according to Forbes, just last April, we're talking a year ago, he didn't give $1 million to Harvard. He didn't give $10 million to Harvard. He didn't give $20 million to Harvard. Rob, if you can pull up the story. This is how much money Ken Griffin, billionaire, gave to Harvard last year. Go lower. You'll see, I think it's the third or fourth paragraph. Well, you see a number if you zoom in right there. Last one. Griffin, the founder and CEO of Citadel, has donated generously to his alma mater since he graduated in 1989, including a $300 million gift last April to the Faculty of Arts and Sciences and a $100 million gift in 2014. Vinny, that's $450 on 2 donations. And he's saying, I'm out.
Done.
I'm out. Tom, how consequential? As somebody that's from academia yourself, what do you think is going to happen here?
Well, first of all, when I read this, I mean, this
when I say I just want to pay the respect.
Yeah, you have to
some
move
of us.
the castle.
Thank you very much. Basically, this announcement just reeks. This is PR stunt. When I finished reading this, all I could smell was horse shit. And I said, man, there's a pony in here somewhere. You just have to find it. And so here's what the pony is. The pony is they were embarrassed on Capitol Hill when Claudine Gay and the president of MIT and the president of Penn all could not answer questions with a simple answer. Will you protect Jewish students that are being persecuted and feel physically, insecure about safety? Will you do something about that? And they couldn't say yes, they would do about it. And they were embarrassed on Capitol Hill. And then the changes made in leadership. Then, add insult to injury, they allowed protests to become encampments, and then encampments to be allowed to negotiate with the school. First of all, you're breaking the law. Second of all, you're breaking university policy, and you're doing all this. And then the universities negotiated with them. Later, University of Alabama was like, get the hell out of here. Your permit's over. You've had your protest. You've had your demonstration, freedom of speech. You've done your piece. Now go home, damn it. It's done. And so what has happened here is Harvard was cornered, and Harvard had to do something. And so what are they doing? They went away navel-gazing and thinking, and they came back and they said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to announce publicly that we're not going to announce publicly an official university position. And that was the one that was in the press release and was in the words on the president's lips, which was officially comment on the official position of the university. So they're stuck in a corner, PBD, and all they can do is make this little announcement that says, if it doesn't have to do with the core function of the university, which is not education, I said it before, which is running a hedge fund of which less than 12% of the revenue per year is actually tuition. If it's not talking about the official mission and function of the university, we're not going to comment on these things. Well, I'd like to know when they not comment when another group comes and protests in the student square and says, we're not leaving unless you negotiate with us. And when it's time to not comment, I'd like to know what Harvard's going to do. But they're really stuck. And like most of academia is stuck. And by the way, most of the Ivy Leagues started as seminaries, by the way. Oh, yeah. The Ivy League, most of them were seminaries, and they were centers of America, of early Americana.
What a shame. And what a shame to go from that to where you are today.
Exactly.
What a shame for that to be taking place.
I have a question for Pete. Because it's funny, when PBD did the intro, and he's like, you went to Harvard, you literally rolled your eyes. I didn't, you might have been proud about it, because typically an alma mater, the whole premise is that you have pride in where you went to school. And there you are rolling your eyes. I think Harvard is number one, by the way, when it comes to endowments, $50 billion. You said that's a hedge fund that basically teaches classes. When you said who is the number one client of a university, we're thinking, well, it's the kids, well, it's the parents. It's actually the donors, the mega donors, the Ken Griffins of the world, or the Bill Ackmans of the world, who have all been disgusted what's going on out here. But the motto of Harvard is veritas, the truth. So I want you to be a little truth teller here. What would it take for you to give money to Harvard again? Or possibly, if your kids got accepted to Harvard, would you be encouraging your kids to go to Harvard? What would you do?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Absolutely not. I've got a list. It's about 5 schools long of schools that I, as a father, would be willing to spend my own money if they would like to attend.
Are you comfortable sharing those?
Because a few of them. Well, Liberty University, College of the Ozarks. It's down in Missouri. I love New St. Andrews College. It's in Idaho. That's a few of them. There's a few more.
Yeah.
I've got it on my iPhone. Everywhere I go on different events, people say, well, what about this school? Have you looked
University of Florida, maybe?
Nope.
Really?
University of Tennessee? Nope. All the major state schools have the same undercurrent. See, we talk about Harvard, we talk about Yale, we talk about Princeton, because they're the worst. They just play it out front. Right. Critical race theory is everywhere. If you go to Harvard's website, every department defines itself through the lens of critical race theory. That's why I wrote critical theory. They're just open about it. The pedagogy, the philosophy of education these days is ubiquitous across all of higher ed. I mean, you know where the Marxists landed when they came over? The book I wrote before this one was Battle for the American Mind, about the K through 12 takeover, the left-wing takeover of K through 12 education. It took them 100 years. And they did it in large part by seating themselves in higher ed. Where did they first land, the Marxists from the Frankfurt School? At Columbia University. What is Columbia University? What was it then? What is it today? The #1 teachers college in America. And what did they come with? A theory called critical theory. Now, Marxists usually use class as the dividing factor. Class didn't work in America because of capitalism. Yep. So what did they use instead? They used race, which was our Achilles heel. So the teachers' college proliferated that everywhere. So people say, well, my kids are safe at Alabama or Florida or Tennessee. Maybe. Definitely the culture is better, but the philosophy is still the same. I mean, you look at something like who here took social studies? Social studies.
Yeah, back in the day.
Social studies?
Yeah.
Totally made up. It's a made up subject. It's not a real subject. Made up by progressives because they wanted to get rid of literature and theology and philosophy and history and politics as individual disciplines meant to seek truth. Veritas. Back to when what's on the crest of Harvard? The Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Testament to come, meaning Christ's return. That's what's on the shield. It was seeking actual truth. They've dissected all of that. So even schools that look more conservative.
Wait. Let me get this straight. What you just said. Is that still on their crest?
It is still on their crest.
Pull that
racist,
up,
isn't it? Racist?
No, but wait a minute. Do they even explain that like in orientation or no?
Of course not.
No.
Absolutely not.
Wait, can you pull this up, Rob?
Harvard crest.
Can you pull this up? So pull up the Harvard crest on what he was explaining, and actually go up. What does Harvard's crest mean? I want to know. Did you guys know this? How many of you guys know?
I knew about Veritas. I didn't know about the Old Testament and New
Zoom in
Testament.
a little bit.
Yeah, look at the crest when you actually look at the shield.
Harvard's in record.
Now as they've moved on to
Like-
Go to images, Rob. You'll see it.
In the foreground, the 3 open.
Yep, the 3 open books. So they don't even say what
we know
the
what
open
it
books
is.
are, but that's exactly.
Wow. How do you go from that to? So let me ask you: if you have, so
Look at the 3 books.
That's what the 3 books
There it
are meant
is.
to represent.
So here's what's crazy. So yesterday, we're upgrading and doing all this stuff with our estate planning. Tom, we're having these meetings. We've been having these meetings for the last couple of years. But a couple of weeks ago, I'm at an event where I'm listening to everybody talk about estate planning with their kids, how they set it up, G4, G5. This is how many, the Crest family, the Walsh family, the Reinsdorf family. You're kind of learning about all these guys, how they do it. Can they not put in their constitution that whoever becomes the president of Harvard has to be somebody that's committed to these 3 things? Wouldn't that just make sense? So who is the founder of Harvard, Pete? Do you know who founded?
Well, I mean, it was named after John Harvard. I don't know who actually founded it, but it was 1670
it was in 1636 by the Great and General Court of Massachusetts Bay Colony, great name, and named after John Harvard, its first benefactor.
So its first donor.
Yeah.
and what's John Harvard known for?
I couldn't tell you.
Can you zoom it in? No, I'm actually now curious. Can you go in right now? Let's just see it here. Go below, Rob. No, right there, the history of Harvard University. Oh, they're not going to tell the. Okay, so Harvard was an English, zoom in a little bit.
Yep.
Puritan clergyman, a New England colonist who was born in New England, London, 1607, died in Charleston, Massachusetts, 1638. 1627, his mother and stepfather sent him to Emmanuel College, Cambridge, where he graduated in 1631. Earned his master's degree in 1635. 1637, Hartman moved to Massachusetts Bay Colony, manages tuberculosis, and died from consumption the following year. Before his death, he left the college half of his estate, which was worth $1,700. It's a lot of money in 1600. And, no, it literally is. And his library of around 400 volumes. The school was officially named Harvard College in his honor in 1639. Wow. And you go this far from this? Yeah. Are you kidding me? That is insane to me.
And you have to remember the risks they took. Mm-hmm. What year was this? This is 60 years before 1776. So this is a young country emerging, PBD.
Where do you see 60 years? This is...
No, he's saying from there to the 1700s.
Officially, 1636?
That's 140 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100.
Don't worry about it. It's only 100 years you missed.
140 years.
Yeah,
it's a long time.
140 years later, they're taking a risk under the British shadow about what they're teaching and what they're doing. Because a lot of what they were teaching, what they were doing, was the independence and the growth of America.
Well, the elephant in the room here is he's a white Christian male, and that's in the 1600s, whatever it is, sailing across the ocean blue, Christopher Columbus vibes, founding the school, being the first benefactor. Fast forward 2024, DEI, Marxism, run amok, intersectionality, decolonialization, oppressor, oppressed. It just shows like the guy that started the school wouldn't actually necessarily be even welcome in the school anymore.
He would tear up his own diploma. Yeah. It ultimately becomes a rejection of God and a rejection of Western civilization. And once you reject God, then you open Pandora's box for anything to replace it. And that's how you lose your culture. You know this. Culture protection is really important, and you have to be massively intentional about what your mission is, who you allow to lead it, who you let in, who your employees are. And the minute, it's just like anything, the minute you let DEI sort of creep in or any aspect like that creep in, it takes over. And Harvard is one of the worst examples.
He's so right. By the way, a few years ago, one of the investors comes up to us, and one of the guys we were meeting with, this is the whole DEI thing where it wasn't kind of big. This is like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I don't know what it was.
Wasn't even a thing.
Tom, you would remember this. No, it wasn't like ESG, DEI. No. Nobody was really talking about it. And one of the guys says, well, yeah, you know what we value when we make the investments, and we want to know what the DEI scores. I'm like, what the hell is DEI? Well, DEI is diversity. This. I'm like, we're probably the most DEI company out there. So he's like,
PHP really? You're talking about.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's
without
ridiculous.
Even trying.
Yes,
it's like, what are you talking about? Like, we got Hispanics, we got blacks, we got whites, we got Asians, we got Muslims, it doesn't matter. We all get along, whatever it is. You've been to the conference.
Really
it makes no sense. So then, just to put it to him, I said, just so you know, whatever you think you're DEI, we're like, true
20-fold
DEI without trying to be DEI. Exactly. And we got the report and we send it to him, and some people are like, well, PHP is a DEI company and all. We did that because one of the investors wanted to know this. But here's the part. Mm-hmm. This guy right here, I saw this clip this morning. I showed it to Jen. And I don't know if you've heard about this book that's come out. Every parent and teacher, schools, they're all reading and talking about it. The Anxious Generation, how the great rewiring of childhood is causing an epidemic of mental illness. Now, this guy is interviewing the author. He's asking him, who raises better kids? And then he asks him a question at the end. I love how honest the author is. Rob, if you can play this clip, go for it.
Who makes for better parents, left-wingers or right-wingers?
Right-wingers. There's a lot of data on this.
Move the mouse, Rob.
There's long been a slight gap where conservatives are a little happier than liberals, and it's not clear why. Is that parenting? Who knows? But what I found in doing the research for the book is that the gap between left and right became a chasm after 2012. So we'll get to the reasons why that is. But the bottom line is when kids are rooted in communities, they don't get washed out to sea by the phone-based childhood, by living by the virtual world. So over and over again, whether we look at left, right, whether we look at religion, what we find is that it's the secular kids and the liberal kids who got washed out to sea, got really depressed after 2012, and much less effect on the conservative and religious kids because I think they're more rooted.
Now, if parenting is the
Watch this. No, play it.
most important thing, which you seem at many times to believe, why aren't you just a right-winger? Because right-wingers, according to you, get that right.
Watch this.
It would be your community, right? You're talking about community. Embrace that community.
Well, no, because my community is the academic community where almost everyone's on the left. And, I know some conservatives. They're mostly not professors. And I do belong to a synagogue, although I'm an atheist. So, yes, I sort of like have one toe in, each of these worlds. But it's not that simple. You don't just say, well, my research shows that this produces better outcomes. Therefore, I will change my values and goal to be like. No, it doesn't work that way.
By the way,
who makes for better parents?
I'm going to tell you something. I love his answer. I know we're kind of like sitting here saying, if he would have said, yes, I went to Hillsdale, the credibility of statistics would have actually gone lower.
I agree.
The fact that this guy is a liberal, not willing to move, even after finding out the data that families being raised by conservative values raise better kids, but he's not willing to join the team, gives it more argument.
Yes.
So why would Harvard get away from these values and principles that build it into the #1 institution in the world? So wild to me.
And here's my thing. What's the end goal for them? They have this whole system set up. The DEI, Peter, the schools, they're brainwashing. What's their end game for doing this to the children?
This is what we miss, is that I'm not kidding. When you do the research of what happened to academia and now K through 12, every person you meet who's a part of it is an atheist, a communist, or a Marxist.
Wow.
Or so all of them. We're not talking about like, soft left progressives. The people who sowed the seeds of what we see in our universities today were Marxists. Mm-hmm. They were communists. Yep. They were atheists. They hated America. They hated capitalism. They were angry people, usually ugly people.
Ugly as hell.
And they hated the success and the freedom and actually the code of the West, much of which is a biblical code, which restricted all the perverted things they wanted to be a part of. And so they wanted to assault it. And critical theory is the best example of it. Coming out of an academic institution in Germany, landing here, and it proliferated because it gave a philosophy. Otherwise, Western Christian civilization was grounded in the Bible. It was rooted in Athens, in Jerusalem, in Latin. It had a history. It had coherence to an understanding of human nature. Well, critical theory gave the left, Marxist, communist, an avenue by which to produce an alternate theory, which is tear it all down. And once it got in, the institutions didn't fight back. And it took over. So the end state of those people, they didn't know exactly what their plot 100 years ago would look like, but they knew what it wouldn't look like. It wouldn't look like 1776, and it wouldn't look like biblical principles, and they were happy with that. And that's exactly what they got at Harvard.
Let me tell you what this is making me think about. Yesterday, Tom, how weird was yesterday? Check this out. Yesterday, I told you we did the estate planning for the family with Tom Executive. They all came in here from Miami. We had a big meeting. You know what we did last night at the Cigar Lounge? You saw us at the Cigar Lounge. We were prepping for tomorrow's debate with Chris Cuomo and Dave Smith. But last night, till 10 o'clock at night, we were at the Cigar Lounge for 3.5 hours. All we did was build the constitution and the culture of Valuetainment and Lion Holding Company to announce to everybody that if you come work for this company, here's who won't do well, here's who will do well, this is what we stand for, this is what we don't stand for, and we're giving it to you. So you're going to say, I don't like this company. I think there's never been a more important time to think 100 years. Because you can't be like, well, we got plenty of time. You don't. Every school let's just say we start a school, university. You have to put who can run this school.
Of course.
Because if a school's being ran by Tom, let's just say Tom's the dean of the school, president of the school. I don't care what happens if my kids are going to that school. I trust. Meaning, I trust what's going to happen at the top. Yep. Teacher screws up, he's going to fire them. And say, what are you doing here? Because I know what's at the top. It's very important that companies, if a company is being built on a cause, if a school's being built on a cause, the papers, the Bill of Rights, the constitution of that school needs to be written who's going to run it one day. No matter how big of a check they cut you, even if your name is Forbes and you're the great-grandson, the grandson of the founder of Forbes magazine, and you sell it to China for 95%, and 2021 International Woman of the Year is announced as Hillary Clinton from Forbes. Forbes lost its way. So very important to protect it at the beginning. I want to go to the next story here. Okay. So next, this is leading me to Blackstone CEO, to back Trump, cites economic concerns, rise of anti-Semitism. So again, Blackstone CEO, Rob, if you can Google him to see who he is. Stephen Schwarzman wrote a phenomenal book called, I think, What It Takes. If you haven't read it, you have to read this book as well. So here's Blackstone CEO Stephen Schwarzman. Confirmed Friday he will support Donald Trump in his White House rematch with President Biden. Schwarzman, one of the biggest political donors on Wall Street, was seriously considering backing Trump as anti-Semitism spread around the country, especially on college campuses. The Blackstone boss said Friday that concerns about economic, immigration, foreign policies under Biden, along with the dramatic rise of anti-Semitism in the country, drove his decision to endorse Trump, according to a statement issued to Axios. Long viewed as a Trump ally, Schwarzman had said in 2022 he would not back the former president, saying it was time for the Republican Party Party to turn to a new generation of leaders. So he did not want Trump, and then he goes Trump. How big of a deal is this?
I think it's a recognition of what a lot of business leaders are seeing. I mean, look at what he cited. He talked about anti-Semitism, and he's right. But economic, immigration, foreign policy. Like, what does it actually end up coming back to? I'm poorer, my border's wide open, my community's completely changed, and the world's on fire. Maybe we should hand it back to the guy who didn't bring those things.
Yeah.
I think that's smart money, and I think you're going to see a lot more of these guys willing to do it. I think we'll probably talk about the trial that's going on right now, too. Smart people see exactly what's going on. They see the boogeyman that's been created, and they realize it's a sham. And so they want to go with results and outcome, and that's what Trump has been.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not just him. You got David Sachs, who is a very trusted advisor to Elon Musk and a great mind. You got Chamath, which I think Chamath's position is a lot of credibility because there was the thing that came out about Chamath 9 months ago when he said, if you asked me 4 years ago what I would have given Trump, I would have given a D- or something like that, D+.
Yeah.
He says, now after being able to see what Biden's done and what Trump's done, I give Trump a B+. Yeah. And I have to say it. I hate to say it, but he was great at what he did. So Chamath, who was a former Golden State Warriors owners, Mark Andreessen, and others are coming out supporting this. By the way, last month in April, I believe Trump raised $50 million, Biden raised $25 million.
Yes.
In April.
And he needed Clinton and Obama to help with that, but Trump did it all by himself.
Yeah, and not only all by himself by only working 1 day a week. Wednesday. And his 1 day is worth more than a month of Biden.
Yep.
Think about that competition right there. Tom, your thoughts on this, Schwartzman?
That comparison of the work week there is an incredibly low bar, but I think what you're seeing here is remember, it was 2022 when Schwartzman said it, and now we're 2 years later. So what do we have 2 years later? You go down the list. The report card is terrible. The cumulative effect of inflation, and we've said it before. Oh, inflation is down. Well, that doesn't mean the prices have gone down. That just means it's like I use the example of a fictitious cousin. Hey, I'm 350 pounds, but I'm no longer gaining weight. Yeah, but what are you going to do about the fact you're 350 pounds? And that's a 20% increase in prices over those 2 years, over the cumulative impact of inflation. And what people are looking at is they're objectively looking at this is not an inconsequential presidential elections. We've had presidential elections at time in this country where you could argue, I would argue, an election is always consequential. But at times we have relative peace, relative prosperity. People sometimes don't think it's too inconsequential who you elect. Well, maybe it doesn't matter so much here and here. Maybe it says George Bush Sr. versus Perot versus Bush. Well, maybe it's not doesn't really matter too much. Maybe it's one or the other. And what people are seeing now is just how freaking important the election is. And you've got people that are walking back from the social stance. They were taking social progressive stances, and now they're stepping back and saying, wait a minute. Social progressive stances don't matter as Pete just said, if the world's on fire, foreign policy, we're being overrun with people that we have no homes for, no jobs for, with unbridled immigration. We are the country of immigration, but we come here in an orderly fashion. Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, etched on the Statue of Liberty. Come here, but come orderly so that we can assimilate you and you can find a job, you can find a future, and come legally. And then the economy. And what you have is the people in power, Pat, are coming out and saying, wait a minute. I can't do this. And I'm going back the other way. And you're seeing it in Silicon Valley. In Silicon Valley, the election, you go back to 2008 and 2012, I was out there. It was a cultural progressive election for Obama and the reelection of Obama. That's what it was. It wasn't a national thought. There wasn't depth to it. It was a progressive. We're going to have our first African-American president, which is not necessarily a bad
Historic.
thing. It's historic. It's not a bad thing unless he doesn't turn out to be a good leader making good decisions for the country. Mm-hmm. And, I think people are coming out now and people are saying, you know what? I can't do this.
As James Carville has famously said, it's the economy, stupid. So, you see all these billionaires that are backing Trump now. Why do billionaires all of a sudden say, all right, maybe Trump's the guy? It's because billionaires understand money. The number one issue, despite what you hear about abortion and culture wars and even immigration or Gaza, God forbid, is the economy. It's the economy, stupid. And what investors know is the following. You don't throw good money after bad money. The whole dumb money movie. The reality is once you've made a bad bet, you say, all right, it's called the sunken cost fallacy. Good. I lost 50 grand. I lost 100 grand. My bet is going sideways. I'm out. I'm not putting another 100 grand down here. Now, we're not talking 100 grand here. We're not talking millions here. We're talking billions of dollars at stake for these billionaires. And it's not just Steven Schwartzman at BlackRock. We've seen the evolution. So whether you're betting in Vegas, whether you're a billionaire, whether it's in politics, at some point you'll be like, yeah, I'm good on this guy. Because they've had 4 years of Biden. Here's a quick list. Jamie Dimon has come out basically and said, yeah, Trump's done pretty good. Jamie Dimon? Is there a bigger name in finance than Jamie Dimon? Steve Wynn, who owns all the casinos. Woody Johnson of the Johnson & Johnson family. I believe he owns the New York Jets. Joe Ricketts, who owns Ameritrade. All these guys are billionaires. Are like, by the way, whether it's The Rock, who we just talked about, whether it was Rogan, Elon Musk, none of these guys, I would assume, voted for Trump in 2020. And it seems like they're all gravitating this way. It's gone so far that now Trump, he made an announcement that he might be even considering having Elon Musk as part of his cabinet. This is where we're at today.
And you know what they say? Everybody always says this quote. You know, I hate to say I told you so. No, we told you so. We said it from the beginning, and look how everybody's turning now. The Michael Rappaports, the Jamie Dimons, and all these people. We told you from the beginning, everything from Russia to COVID to he's a Hitler, he's a racist. All that stuff is dwindling down, and now everybody's coming out going, wait a minute,
you know what?
You guys were right.
You know
were
what?
right.
Let me hear Pete's talk.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pete.
No, and the hangover is over of the progressive hangover.
Good movie, by the way. Very good movie.
I love it.
Meaning it was very convenient and easy to float along with reaction to George Floyd, post the Black Square, DEI, all the defund the police, all of that, all the climate change stuff. It was very easy, whether you're The Rock or a corporate CEO, to say, oh, of course we're doing these things. This is what we support. This is inevitable. Biden was a part of that. Obama was a part of that. Yep. It's very easy. And Trump was an easy boogeyman to sort of say, well, of course I can't go for that guy. And then the hangover wears off. It's like, well, no, we actually do need cops. And, the Border Patrol actually is like the good guys. And maybe young boys shouldn't be pressured into becoming young girls like that. Yeah. If you want to be openly gay or whatever, that's always been fine.
Right.
But don't trans my kid. So all this stuff went to its logical, crazy extent, and it liberates these people at that platform. Notice The Rock isn't saying I'm for Trump. They can conveniently, and I'm not dissing him on this, conveniently just say I'm out.
Right.
I'm out. I'm not taking a stance.
Even Cardi B is like, Biden no longer has my vote. Rock says no longer. So
but
they're
taking a stance for that, those people is taking a stance.
Vin, you bring up a good point. Like I told you so. But
we did.
What's the reason? Because as Pat famously says, more is caught than taught.
Big time.
So, like in the famous movie Scarface, it's in the eyes, Chico. The eyes never lie. People have to actually see what happened under Biden.
I'm okay with that. I'm actually totally okay with that. Again, that guy, the anxious generation, gives the argument more credibility because he's now willing to move. I'm okay with that. People who were not for it, like Schwartzman 2 years ago saying I'm not, now I am, that gives it credibility. That's the beautiful part about what's going on right now. Let me continue. I'll go to the next story. So, Pete, maybe all the stuff that's going on right now with Trump, jury, New York, I'm sure you're following it obviously closely. Give us a rundown, thoughts. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, when you step back for a moment, how historic it is. For the first time in American history, 250 years, we have a president on trial. His future is in the hands of 12 average Americans in the city of New York. And we still have no idea what he's being charged with. We just don't have any. And a jury's being sent into a jury room with 50 pages of instructions that they're not allowed to take into the jury room. And their instructions from the judge, a Democrat judge, very clearly, obviously, is you don't have to have a consensus on what the charges are. You can pick and choose different aspects of different charges to cobble together a consensus, so that then we're eroding anything about anything being unanimous. It's and by the way, by not giving them instructions, you're requiring this jury to keep going back to the judge time and time again. What is that judge going to do? Get a little closer to a conviction.
Of course.
Get a little closer to a conviction. The whole thing is so epically rigged. You can't even. I mean, you listen to experts, and every third word is unprecedented, unprecedented, unprecedented. So what I think will happen is you'll probably see some level of a conviction on something. How could you not? It's so rigged that they'll get something. It'll be appealed, and it won't hurt Trump in the polls. I just don't. But this is you saw the announcement of the Biden campaign's going to do a press conference at the White House. He's going to do a speech at the White House once a verdict comes out, a nonpartisan speech to the nation.
Right.
Because this is the only shot Biden's got right now is to try to frame it as an election about a convicted felon versus old Joe.
It's going to hurt.
Old reliable Joe. I think so too.
It's going to hurt him.
But it's their only play. What other play do they have?
No, but they have a few other plays. I just don't know what level of deception they're willing to go. Look, I mean, when you have to call Vito Corleone, Rob, if you can pull up the clip here from Godfather to come out and be the spokesperson or the campaign manager, play this one clip, and then I'll want you to go play the other clip when he's walking away. Go ahead, Rob.
And elections, forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in...
Who wrote it?
I can tell you right now,
you'll see.
he will never leave. He will never leave.
Great actor.
You know that. He will never leave. What does that mean?
Do you think
is that the country we want to live in? Do we want him running this country?
Look at the
and
camera
saying,
pan,
I'm not
PBD.
leaving.
Nice
I'm
camera
dictator
pan
for life.
in.
And look at that car. Alarm. Even
Rob,
alarm
you ready?
doesn't believe him.
I hope this new ad campaign reaches outside the bubble to remind supporters
By the way,
of what a danger he is to our lives.
You show them who's beeping the car horn?
This is not a threat.
Okay.
This is a reality.
Rob, you can pause it, Rob.
And that's
Rob, you want to see who's beeping the horn? Rob, can you play who was actually beeping the horn? Where is it? Right here. Play it. That's the bulldog.
But go back to the other one, Rob. Go back to, you're funny. Go back to Twitter and play the clip when he's walking away. If you can go back to Twitter, when he's walking away.
Is beautiful.
Is this it? Go ahead.
Even better.
I drool for this.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
This is what it's come down to.
You touch kids! You touch kids! You loser! Fuck you! Suck my dick! Your mother should have
Okay, you can stop it right there. This is not the one I wanted to play, guys.
I saw the other one.
I gave you the one to play. That's the other one I wanted to play. I didn't say this one. Can you go to the other one, Rob? So this may be Vinny's one. I like the one that I gave you is the one I want you to play. Go to the one I gave you, Rob, from Twitter. Just go to my Twitter account and you'll see it. It's the first one up there. This is what's frustrating about this is when they're walking away, go lower right there. Play this clip. This is a little bit like, play.
You are gangsters. You are gangsters.
Can't talk to people like that. You can't talk to people like that. So you came. So here's the thing. One, Vinny.
Yes.
You're an actor.
Okay.
So how much of that was him? How much of that was somebody handed him the note? How much of that is acting?
I'm so happy that you asked because let's not forget, guys, this is Robert De Niro, right, Peter? He's a 2-time Oscar winner for Raging Bull and what was the for Godfather, right? This is an act, and think about it. He's in the Upper East Side of Manhattan in a multi-million-dollar house. What would make him come down there to speak like this? By the way, on a script that he hasn't written, Peter, you saw it. He's barely reading. Actors know how to act and memorize it. To me. This is my opinion. I feel like the left has people like this do their dirt for them as if they have dirt on them. Let's not forget. Again, these are facts. Robert De Niro's name was found in Jeffrey Epstein's little black book. Fact, okay? 1998, he was questioned by French authorities in connection to an international Epstein-esque prostitution investigation after his name was mentioned by a woman. He was detained for 9 hours. He was talked about prostitutes that were reportedly matching up with wealthy clients as far as New York City, weird, Arab Gulf states clients, including Saudi princes, members of Persian Gulf monarchies, armed traffickers, and celebrities. To me, it almost seems as like, why would he do that? It looks like I think they have dirt on his ass and like, hey, listen, get your ass out there. We own you. Go out there and say Trump is Hitler, Trump is the worst, and the end of the world is going to come. That's me. What else would make Robert De Niro, PBD? He's worth $100-200 million. You're going to come down to the city with the peasants, with these right-wingers and get in their faces? Why would he do that? Why? Explain that to me. What is he doing?
So wait a minute. Okay.
I think he's out.
Do you think he believes what he's saying?
I don't think so. I think he's told to do this. I think he's acting.
I totally disagree with you, Vinny.
I know people who are very good friends with him behind closed doors. I'm not going to say the name because this was a private conversation. Trust me, you know this other actor, big name as well. He cannot stand stand
Trump.
Okay,
so why would you? But out publicly in the streets of New York, PBD, that's dangerous.
He's at a point right now for him in his life. So I don't know, man. I think there's a part of it that is either Trump didn't fund something he was trying to do where he wanted money from him. It's something behind closed doors with a girl that he wanted to get with that Trump got. It's something that none of us know that is doing this, that only Trump and him know, that behind closed doors, that is driving him insane, that maybe at one point he was the guy in New York and now Trump is. It's got to be something. You can't have this level of rage. You had an incredible acting career. Unbelievable. One of the better resumes of he's got the top 10 best resumes of movies.
Of course.
In the last 50 years.
Of course.
And you act like this?
What
do you think, Pete?
I think he does. What Trump said is right. I mean, at some level, he's got a really nasty case of Trump derangement syndrome. We all know people who that's happened to. The name itself elicits pure emotion. And I think the campaign... This does come back to the campaign, though.
Yes.
They're looking for a curveball moment. They need a game changer. They need, I mean, what happened 4 years ago right around this time? The George Floyd riots.
Yes.
COVID. All of that totally changed the contours of the 2020 election. I mean, Donald Trump, you remember the State of the Union address he gave where he gave the Medal of Freedom to Rush Limbaugh? Remember that?
Yes.
The economy was roaring. I mean, he barely mentioned China and COVID. It was like one line because it was brand new.
Yep.
He was on this a fast track to re-election. He was popular even after everything that had gone after him. He'd been liberated after the Russia nonsense, all of that. COVID happened. George Floyd happened. The Democrats know they need a curveball. And maybe it's inside that courtroom, or maybe it's out in the streets. And maybe it's Robert De Niro, or maybe it's something else. Maybe it was the protest, whatever. But I think you just start throwing stuff against the wall. I think you're going to see Democrats. Let's throw De Niro out in the streets of New York and see what happens. He's deranged. He'll say something. They don't have a better option right now.
And I definitely think, he doesn't like Trump, but to the phone call to Robert De Niro, because he works closely with the Biden administration.
Sure.
Hey, Bobby, you're going to go out into the streets, and I'm telling you right now, PBD, why would he do that? He had nine security guards with him.
Let me tell you, when a person, look at Keith Olbermann, right?
Psychotic. He's
no,
nuts.
but look at Keith Olbermann. He seems delusional.
Yeah.
Like he seems like he's lost it, right? There is people on the left that don't like Trump, and they'll make the argument and the case, but they're not delusional. The Robert De Niro's legacy, unfortunately, every time he had everybody. Who did he not have? You have the left, the right, the center. You have and you go do this. Listen, look at the way, not to go back to The Rock. It's not like I'm doing anything at this point. The event's already been sold. So this guy goes, RNC 2001, speaks at the RNC. Did you guys know this?
I remember that. Yeah.
Forgot that.
Yeah, he showed it to me.
Are you kidding me? Pull it up. Put Dwayne Johnson, RNC, I think is 2021 or whatever, right?
Wow.
So if you go up to Dwayne Johnson, RNC, right there, the third link, press, let's see if you have it. Yeah, that's him talking to people.
And again, not necessarily to try and sway votes towards
2000.
the Republican candidate or the Democratic candidate, for that matter, as much as he is just here to, to make sure that
speaks on stage. Okay, you can pause it right there. So you speak at the RNC, then you say what you say about Trump, then you make the video about Biden. Now you're saying, look, that's what I did. This is what I did. What is he doing? You're kind of like, okay, I think he's going through it. Fine. You don't see, but Pacino goes and, what do you call it? De Niro goes and reacts this way. Yeah. You think Pacino likes Trump? Have you seen Pacino act this way?
He hasn't said anything.
I don't see anything with Pacino.
Not at all.
Saying this way. You could come out and say, hey, I'm supporting Biden because I think it's a risk if we go the other way for the following reasons. But to do this is career-ending legacy. You're 82 years. How old is he?
He's 80 years old.
He's 80 years old.
What are you
But he's been on a run though. Last week it was Trump was Hitler.
Yeah.
Months before Trump is
I don't know
Hitler.
if it's a good
It's a campaign that they're using him to scare the shit out of people, and I think they have something on him. That's my opinion.
I'll just tell you something real quick, Vinny. I don't think this is an act. He's one of the greatest actors of all time.
What do you mean? That doesn't make any sense.
You want to talk? Or you want me to talk?
No, but you just said you contradicted yourself. You contradicted yourself. You said he's not acting. He's the best actor in the world. What the hell are you even talking about? That could be an act. He's an actor. He's an Oscar winner. That could be an act, Adam.
Okay, what do you think?
No, it's Vinny's turn. Go ahead, Vinny.
Well, you contradicted yourself. I want to correct you.
I'm just saying it's not an act, Vinny.
How do you know?
Vinny Jones.
How do you know?
Listen, he's 80 years old, and Pat hit the nail on the head, proverbial nail on the head. He's tarnishing his legacy. What did Michael Jordan famously say? Republicans buy sneakers too. Well, you know what? Republicans watch movies too, Mr. De Niro. And he's going to the tribal corner, and he's basically ruining everything he's done for the last 50 years, whether it's the ridiculous tough guy movies, whether it's Casino, whether it's Goodfellas, whether it's The Godfather, whether it's Cape Fear, ridiculous movie, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull. What he's proved to be is sort of a fake tough guy.
Small man.
Yeah, now he's doing the Fockers and the little Fockers and the bad grandpa, whatever it is, dirty grandpa. It's just a fake tough guy. But
this time he's an old Focker, if you think about it.
He's an old motherfucker. That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
But, I asked Rudy Giuliani this when we had this. I said, how much are you concerned about you hitching your wagon to Trump is ruining your legacy? Because believe it or not, Rudy Giuliani's legacy is tarnished as well for a different reason. But when you go all in on something and you have zero ability to basically say, well, I could have been wrong, could have been right. There's reason, as PBD calls it. You're just completely tribal. This is where you end up with. The people go to tribes. By the way, he's as emotional, as tribal as it gets. But it's not a good look for the MAGA people. Like, fuck you, Cal. It's not a good look.
Whoa.
So what just happened there?
You're cursed. It's a new technology.
Oh, gotcha. Well, that's right. So it's just not a good look. But there is, what I try to take is a little bit of truthiness of what he's saying, because the whole threat to democracy, Trump, he's never going to leave office. Well, he actually did leave office. So there's evidence that he left. But there is a concern, especially the Bill Maher's of the world, that he's never going to admit that he lost. He's still saying that he won 2020, and there's according to the Bill Maher's of the world, a high likelihood they will not admit defeat. Now, if he loses to Joe Biden again, Jesus Christ. But there is a valid concern there.
You don't have to admit anything. Mm-hmm. You just have to do it. So that's what Bill Maher says all the time. Well, he didn't concede the 2020 election. Well, he left the White House.
Right.
You know who else didn't concede the election? Hillary Clinton.
Yep.
And she conceded, I guess, but then she groused about it for the next 4 years.
Speech, but said it was illegitimate about it.
So, we can play this game all day long. Anybody that knows Donald Trump knows that, he wants to win, but he knows there's one more term, and he's going to do everything he can with it.
But you want to know the best evidence?
I just don't think this is a good idea on what he's doing. Rob, can you play this clip of Junior right afterwards, giving his message? By the way, this is probably one of the most fired up you've ever seen him with the message he's given. He's, just so you know, whatever he's saying, this guy, if you're watching this, Junior, if you're watching this, whatever your pops should say that can't say, you should say.
1,000%.
Every single day. Go ahead. He does this here. Go ahead, Rob.
The world. But the fact that they're holding a rally across the seat from this very witch hunt, right across the street, tells us exactly what we all knew all along, that it is a political persecution. It is a witch hunt. There is a reason one of the people sitting at that desk was the number 3 person in Joe Biden's DOJ. I know my father is not allowed to say Matthew Colangelo in his name, right? Because he's been gagged. The President of the United States is not allowed to exercise his First Amendment rights in New York City in this day and age.
Go straight to Matthew Colangelo's, what do you call it?
Wow.
Not enough has been made about
Wikipedia. Yeah, go to that. Go. Let's get smarter, folks. I mean, there's this thing called the internet.
What is that?
Thank you, Al Gore.
I think Ross Perot, is it Al Gore or Ross? Who invented Al Gore? Yeah. I mean, listen, major gratitude towards that guy. So can you go to his Wikipedia? Let's just see who he is, okay? Does he have a Wikipedia, Rob, or no?
I'm looking.
Just put his name. You put Colangelo and Trump.
Can you imagine if it was the other way around and there was a Democrat at trial and there was someone from the Trump administration, number 3 in there? You think you wouldn't have a Wikipedia page?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I think it's Matthew. Did he say
former
Matthew?
senior Biden Justice Department official.
You can barely find it.
So is there a Wikipedia? Are you kidding me?
Wow, is that weird, guys? That's so weird.
There's not a Wikipedia on this guy? Okay, so go to... All right, I'm going to do it here as well, Rob, so we can both do it. Matthew...
Chairman demands documents of Bragg, prosecutor Matthew College.
Former senior president Biden...
There it is.
...is a lead attorney and... Okay, so House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan sent a letter to New York Attorney General Letitia James demanding documents about the New York County District Attorney Alvin Bragg's lead prosecutor Matthew Colangelo, and think about the name Colangelo, as the committee continues its investigation into politicized prosecutions, given the perception that the Biden DOJ is assisting in District Attorney Bragg's prosecution. Chairman Jordan has requested communication with documents related to Colangelo's previous employment at New York Attorney General's office, where he worked several anti-Trump investigations. The fact that a former senior Biden DOJ official whose previous employment consisted of leading a wave of state litigation against Trump administration policies is now leading the prosecution of Biden's chief political rival only adds to the perception that the Biden DOJ is politicized and weaponized. Wow.
And look at the bottom of that. District Attorney Bragg hired Mr. Colangelo to jumpstart his office investigation of President Trump. So he's the number. No one goes from the number 3 at the DOJ to the Manhattan District Attorney's office to be a rank and file investigator, unless you've been given orders.
Yeah.
Because Bragg passed on these charges the first time because there's nothing there.
Pat,
so
can I ask you a question? Put on your legal scholar hat, because what I tend to do on these.
Harvard.
That's right, Harvard. 1.8 got you into Harvard, bro. What I tend to do is go to who would be hating on someone like Trump the most and hear what they have to say. Right? So, you're on Fox, so who are your counterparts? Typically CNN. So, all right, let's see what they got to say. But it's interesting to find out what they're saying, because Jake Tapper, there's a story here on page 17. Even Jake Tapper basically said, yeah, Alvin Bragg failed to, prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump is guilty. If Jake Tapper saying that on CNN, it's like, CNN? By the way, the number one legal analyst commentator on CNN, in my opinion, is the guy Elliot Honig. He's everywhere. He came out and said basically, yeah, he hasn't really done enough to prove. So it's easy for, Donald Trump Jr. to defend his dad, obviously. It's easy for people on Fox to obviously get in line with the Trump crew. I get it. But when the people on, there it is right there, Jake Tapper, CNN, says that Bragg hasn't proved guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. A lot of these people definitely want this to happen. So my question to you, Pat, is this is probably their one shot, because I don't think any of the Mar-a-Lago FBI raid stuff, or certainly the Georgia election situation, or certainly the January 6th insurrection is going to happen. So this being their one shot, do you think they're just going all in on trying to make this happen?
This is all backfiring, my opinion. This backfired. De Niro backfired. Mar-a-Lago backfired. Even the girl, whatever, E. Jean Carroll, that says, rape is like a fantasy.
You're fascinating.
And you're fascinating, Anderson Cooper. Anderson's like, we got to go to commercial break. Backfiring. Everything they're doing is backfiring. There's only one play left. There's only one play left. If you want to add the second play of maybe them bringing somebody in last minute to replace, maybe. But right now, you get maybe Kamala steps away. Who knows? I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's only one play left. This is why I think the president needs more security than ever before.
What's the play?
He just got to have more security than ever.
You're saying
that's what I say all the time.
There is character assassination. There is take all his money, so he has to go beg for money, so he loses the credibility of saying, I didn't take money from anybody. Every one of these things they've tried. They've tried the Me Too. They've tried the, racist. They've tried the, he called Hispanics this. They've tried the black. They've tried.
Criminal.
He's getting the black vote from 9% to 22%. Young blacks are supporting him. What are we talking about? So they only have one play. I would double, if they're raising money, I don't know the exact statutory, what you can use money for. I just think security needs to be doubled down.
But Peter, I think what's happening is obviously horrible. It's obvious. It's lawfare and everything. But at least it's waking up the American people's eyes as to our justice system. You're seeing it right now. All compromised. Remember, we're talking about judges, and the DAs are backed by George Soros. If you think, just go to the FBI when they're taking photos. The FBI is compromised. They're biased. It's like what he's exposing it, but what's going to have to change if Trump comes in, Peter? God willing, he comes in. How can he change this type of thing from not happening again?
I think that's part of the reason they're so scared of him. Is his first go around, one of his biggest challenges was personnel. I mean, he's new to the job. Yep. Who do I bring in? All right. Mad Dog Mattis has got a cool nickname. He should run the DOD. Who's the first? Rex Tillerson looks like a Secretary of State, but they weren't really on board with his agenda. So he's going to bring in real ball crushers that are going to come in and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. He knows he's got one shot at it. And that's why they're so afraid. I mean, you got to go big at this point. And I think he'll have a license to go big. If he wins in face of what he's got, he'll have I love stuff like, obviously you need to put leaders in charge that'll change the ethos of institutions, but they've burrowed people into these. Let me ask all of them. I go by Social Security number. If your Social Security number ends in 6, 4, 2, or 1, you're fired. from the federal government.
That's what Vivek was basically saying.
I agree with him on that all the way.
Sick.
Like, you have to do something like that, otherwise you'll never slow the spread of the size of growth of government. And then you got to do a lot of.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this: how much do you think people who are going to be in his administration are going to want his endorsement for something in 2028? How much you think say Trump becomes a president, okay? Say Trump becomes a president. How much will his endorsement in 2028, what will the value of that be in 2028, Tom? What do you think? You know what I'm asking, right?
I think the value is going to be really high for 28, and I'll tell you why. Because you're going to see a different Trump. I completely agree with what Pete just said. You're going to see a different cabinet. You're going to see a different execution from the Oval Office. You're going to see a much different America emerge from it economically. And then you're going to have people that want the coattails, that need the coattails, because America, I believe, is going to sit back and go, oh, wow, some things got back. Some things got changed back. Well, who are his guys and who aren't they? And I think that it's going to show that there's going to be an even brighter light that shows on the Rhino and the establishment Republicans versus not MAGA Republicans. Because I believe that there's a group in there that are not pure MAGA, but they are with Trump and they are not establishment. And I think this is the new coin a phrase here, the new moderate MAGA. And I think those will absolutely want and need what he has. Look, you can look at his coattails right now. You can go take a look in Georgia. Fannie Willis and everything that happened in Georgia. Look at the polls outside of Atlanta and look what's happened inside Atlanta with the minorities. They don't even refer to Georgia, they meaning DNC, as a battleground state right now. It's 9 points upside down. It's not a battleground. How did that happen? So they went after Georgia. That didn't work. And you notice how hard they're pushing to get things jump-started again in Georgia? They're not. It was embarrassment. Didn't go there. Colorado, keep them off the ballot. Supreme Court goes 9-0. And so I think that is the Trump effect. So
here's my question.
And that's what people are going to want in 28, to your question.
I'm going to stay on this question. So anybody he brings in his team, okay? You know how sometimes it's kind of like... kids or grandkids, the father's the billionaire, but he's on his way out and he's going to die and everything's already been in a contract. So the father no longer has any leverage. The kids are just kind of waiting for the father to die. I don't know if this makes sense or not. Like you're 85 years old. It's like, okay,
the clock is ticking.
You can say whatever you want to say. Your word doesn't mean anything anymore. Everything in the trust has already been passed down to us, and you can't change it because it's a dynasty trust or irrevocable trust. You can't change it anymore.
Great point.
Which means they don't need your endorsement anymore for 2028, okay? The reason if Trump's 2028 endorsement is going to be very valuable, his current team that comes in knows you can't F around and backstab them. Because if you don't do the job, you're going to get trashed in 2028. And now there's two case studies for you. You have the 2016 case. He won. But you guys thought it was an act. And, yeah, this guy's not the guy. You talked a bunch of shit about him. Then he's out in 2020. I told you, this guy's not a president. He was just acting. He was just doing this. Then you're like, oh, shit. This guy's going to be 2024. I'd like to be part of that administration. Then you're in it. Now you know. I can't backstab him this time because he's on his way out in 2028, and I'm going to need what? His endorsement.
Exactly.
This concept here of what I just described, if the analyst can sit there and say, I think his endorsement in 2020 is going to be worth more than in 2024, more in 2022 midterms, more in 2020, more in 2016. If it's going to be worth the most it's ever going to be worth, and you're guesstimating this guy's going to live in his 90s because he's healthy. It's not like if he's going to live that long, I think that's going to be the card he's going to be able to use behind closed doors to say, hey, here's all you got to do. All I ask you is this, pa. Mm-hmm. But if not, here's what you have to. Now, obviously, you can't do that with the FBI. When, okay, I need your loyalty. Can you be loyal? You can't do that kind of stuff, that part. Mm-hmm. But some part of it, he has to know the market. Maybe it's an unspoken truth. I'm going to need this guy in 2028 because he's out.
Yep.
There's a very, I'm in a room with 5 other people that the other 4 all want to run for president, okay? And everybody has a big following. Let's just say everybody's influential. Guess what the other 4 know about me? What do they know about me?
You're loyal.
No. What do they know for a fact about me that's not on the table? No.
What do you mean?
I'm in a room with 5 other guys. Everybody sizing each other up. This is the last couple months. Okay? It's me and these other 4 guys. You know who they are. They're all big names. Okay? Whether they think it or not, the other 4 say they have aspirations of one day running for president. What's one thing for a fact they know that when they size me up, what do they know about me?
Audience.
No. What do they know about me? I'm born in Iran.
Running for president?
That I can't run for president. So what does that mean? Automatically, it's like you have a guy around your girl who's got a reputation, but he's missing a dangling.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're not worried about.
him hooking up
That's
with your
the
girl.
best analogy I can give you, right? Did you understand that analogy? I have to kind of give some science, right? So this guy can't run for president.
Yeah.
So it's like
he's a eunuch.
Trump cannot run again. So he's not a threat for you in 2028. So guess what? Don't play manipulative. I'm on my way out anyways.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're protecting America. We fight together because in 2028, I'll support you. I think that's a big card for him to use.
Well, that's it.
I agree with that.
He wins.
And I think it has an immense amount of influence over who he chooses as his vice president. And I think it works against someone like Vivek. And I love Vivek because I think Vivek has too much of a personality and too much of a following and would immediately be seen or perceived as an heir apparent from day one by the media and inside the administration. And that's not something Trump would want. So he's looking for someone like a Mike Pence, frankly,
I know.
who will be a steady Eddie, but maybe not the heir apparent, so that he maintains the ability to bestow who the next leader of the MAGA movement is in 2028. Not that he'll single-handedly be able to do that, but I do think the Apprentice style, 2027, who will be my pick, will be the biggest we've ever seen, to your point, Pat.
And do you think, Peter, from the field right now, who do you think Trump would, if you had to guess now, who would it be his VP pick? And for the future, who do you think would be probably running that he would want to see in 2028? Meaning, like what Pat's saying, who he would back. Who do you think?
I have no idea. I mean,
you have no clue?
I think J.D. Vance has got a strong shot. I think Tim Scott has a strong shot. I like Tulsi Gabbard. I'd love to see him make a play like that. She's also probably unlikely to be the Republican standard bearer in 2028, which makes it, I think, and she has an ability to reach out to non-traditional Republican constituencies. And I think she's red-pilled pretty solidly from where she was.
Yeah.
She'd be interesting as far as who in 2028.
Like, because you're talking about
Don Jr.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Don Jr. And that's because the model here is the
you're
future.
You're saying 2028?
2028
for president.
It may not necessarily at all be a name we're thinking about right now.
Well, that's what I was about to say. So for me, I think the number 1 draft pick on my list is Vivek. If America can get past him being Hindu, that's going to be the only thing. And a lot of people have said that, so it's not like I'm saying anything people haven't said. But I also think outside of him, the VP is going to be obviously like Mike Pence was on the list, even though you're like Mike's not going to win. Yeah. But Mike was on the list. He is a person that you would have thought as a person running. But I think 4 years is a long time, bro. I think the next 4 years, some major superstars are going to be born. Climate's going to change. People are going to come up. There's going to be a lot of weird things happen next 4 years. And all of a sudden, you're going to be like, who is he? Who is she? For example, a year ago, Tucker gets fired. Do you remember when Tucker got fired and Tucker went to Twitter and he was doing a show on X and then Elon was retweeting all of it, and one of the interviews I think he did got 400 million views on Twitter or whatever it was, like all these things that happened, and his first comeback video was just bonkers that he's going on X? Okay, I said a year ago there's an alliance being built between Tucker, between Musk, and between Trump. I said this
I remember
a year ago. And I painted this picture. This was in April of last year when I said this. And there's no way in the world Elon is going to be more DeSantis. Okay, cool. Because he had him on the, what do you call it, the first
Spaces. Yeah.
I think this guy, Tucker, loves America. I think he is so capable of getting under the skin of his opponents. I think he's smart, witty, sarcastic, sharp, funny, but vicious enough that he can get down and dirty with you because you need to have a level of viciousness. You just do. This game is nasty. You're not going to go in and people are going to offend you. You're going to like, honey, did you hear what they said, babe? You can't play that game. I think Tucker will play and enjoy it. I just don't know if he wants to do it.
Yeah.
if he does want to do it, he's on the list of a top 3 on my list for 2028. And I think he is ridiculously formidable. And I think he may be just as entertaining, if not in a different way, more entertaining, if this guy decides to do it in 2028. What do you think, Tom? You spent some time with him. You and him got along really well. You and him had some really, really good conversations. He enjoyed talking to you. What do you think about this?
I happen to think that exactly what you say. Vivek is the formidable, and I think more than formidable, he's capable. He's intellectual, he's broad, and he's deep on certain issues. And I believe that he's going to be there. I also believe 4 more years, in America, we're going to start realizing all of the things that we have been so slow to realize. When Nixon and Kennedy were up against each other, we were there. You can go back and read the articles that were in Life magazine. And Life magazine, like Walter Cronkite, was like this beacon of thought coming from the media that America basically trusted. Are we ready for a Roman Catholic president with Kennedy? That was one of the... Is Kennedy have enough experience? Is he too young? And then he was elected, and America goes through these moments of kind of getting through these things. And I think he's formidable. I think he's ready. I think he's, I would love to see him in 2028. And I'd love to see him have a very, very strong play right now. I'd love to see him as a VP candidate.
Can I throw you a curveball? Yeah. This might not be very popular on the podcast, but, there's still a chance that Trump doesn't win in 2024. There's a chance. I mean, if you look on Vegas odds.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
everybody's aware.
Some people in the chat are like, what are you talking about? Like, there's a chance.
Yeah.
I think Trump is even money and Biden is, I think, 11 to 10. So 110. But yeah, there it is. It's not far off, guys. But if somehow Joe Biden makes it to the debate stage, somehow Joe Biden makes it to the presidential suite again, I could see Trump running again in 2028, because that's an option out there, guys. Putting that out there to the atmosphere. Let's see what happens with that. We'll see. I still think he's the favorite. Number 2, you said that Donald Trump Jr. would be a likely candidate, what have you. I don't think he's going to choose for VP. Trust me, if Trump could have Donald Trump Jr. as the next candidate in 2028, he would pick him over. Why? Because Trump's all about loyalty. Trump, he's loyal to his name and his brand and his family. He's not loyal to Vivek. He's not loyal to Pence. He's not loyal to Tucker. So if he could anoint somebody, I would assume it's someone with the last name Trump. Now, as far as VPs this year or whoever would be, I fully agree that Vivek is a #1 draft pick. This might be controversial. I actually don't think it's Tucker. I'm probably going to get scorched in the chat. I think Tucker is smart, but corny as all hell. That laugh of his, dude. You remember when Ron DeSantis did his laugh, and everyone's like, dude, that's it. He was done. Howard Dean ran for president. He gave one yell like.
Let me tell you what.
I just think Tucker ain't that dude.
Let me tell you.
I have a scream speech.
Yeah, but let me tell you the difference, guys. You can say all that you want. Guess what? Billions of views will disagree with you that they like to see him. This guy, nobody gives a shit what he says if he started a podcast.
Oh, I'm not saying that Tucker's a lightweight or anything like that.
Hang on a second.
Okay.
If you're going to make your argument, let me tell you why. You're an element of why people do good on social media. I have a model. We've talked about this together before when we had dinner at Talent Dinner. One of it is a level of depth of knowledge, or how deep you can go, right? Okay. The other one is what? Personality. Personality is both attractive or interesting. It doesn't have to be just attractive. It can be a personality where like, I have no clue what the hell this guy's going to say next. That still garners a lot of eyeballs, right? That Tucker has, which is undisputable. But these guys here, if Ron DeSantis started a podcast, it would not be a top 100,000 podcast. Obviously, it would be a top 100, top 1,000 podcast, but point being, he doesn't have the personality.
Policy guy,
He's a policy guy. It's different. Okay,
yeah.
Let me go to the next story here on what we got. All right, so, Rob, if you can play the Dwayne Wade clip. Maybe we go into the Dwayne Wade clip because as parents, a few of us here, play this clip on Dwayne Wade, what he's doing and what the reaction's been. And then a Democratic senator out of, I don't know where it's, is it California that she's had some reactions? Go ahead and play this clip. Go for it.
Welcome to Translatable. I'm Dwayne Wade. And I'm Zaya Wade, and welcome to Translatable. Translatable aims to serve as a community safe space for youth to express themselves through a number of creative outlets. Here at Translatable, we focus on communities of color, center the most marginalized, and emphasize the importance of parents and family.
Translatable is also a resource hub for parents, families, and support system of the LGBTQIA+ youth. For our family, we were blessed to have a community of supporters and knowledgeable experts who could swiftly arm us with the tools we needed to support Zaya in her journey. We recognize the lack of digestible and relatable information available to youth and families, especially communities of color. And to this day, we are still
You can stop music. I don't
I'm
know
so
why they
very
play
proud.
porn
Why they
That's
play porn music?
Yeah.
That's all I was going to say.
Like that. So, I mean,
porn music? I didn't know there was a genre for porn music.
Yeah.
No, there's massive genre. That's exactly what it was. But okay. So now we know what he's doing. He's going back to the whole idea of,
What is he doing? It's a media company?
It's a website. It's a website. To be honest with you,
they're trying to make it be comforting for parents to accept if their kids want to transition into becoming transgender, because that kid was a
12 years old. That's Dwayne's son, who was 12 years old, transition. I don't know if there's been any hormones or surgery. I mean, it's pretty damn believable. But this is going to be a safe space online community, basically supporting mutilation of gender dysphoria transvestite teens. That's all it is, bro. It's normalizing it. It's grooming. It's sexualizing. It's like those kids should be seeing doctors, psychiatrists to try to figure out what's going on, if everything's okay, what's going on at the home, like, what's making you feel like this. Not just like, all right, guys, come all in, everybody come in here, and let's just go with it. I think it's ridiculous. And then PBD, you said you wanted to show the video of what's her name, right? Democrat State Senator Susan Talamantes Eggman. She says she's done with the Democratic Party protecting violent criminals who abuse children.
This is the California State Senate?
Yeah.
Are we moving from Wade?
No, we're on the same story.
Gotcha.
Go ahead and play this clip, Rob.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I'd like to say, as a progressive, proud member of this body for the last 12 years, I'm done.
She's done.
I'm done with us protecting people who would buy and abuse our children. I'm done.
Wow.
I don't want to send more black and brown men to prison. I don't want more people in prison, but I don't want people buying girls.
Wow.
I don't want people buying little girls anymore. And I'm tired of saying it's okay and that we have to protect the men who do it. As a mental health professional and as a social worker, I can tell you I've spent my entire career working with people who have been wounded. I'm not going to say beyond repair, but they have been wounded to their core by the abuse that's been heaped on them, oftentimes by those that they love and look to protect them.
Their parents.
And if their parents won't do it, then by God, we should. Again, I am not arguing that we open the gates to flood our prisons with people.
You can pause this.
Yeah.
But I am.
You get the idea of what's going on. So, go ahead, Vinny.
No, because I'm saying, like, by the way, and just she's saying it, Pete, she goes, I'm done with it now. So for the past 15 years, you've been letting it happen. Now, all of a sudden, she has a conscience, and it's bothering her because they're releasing these people that are sex trafficking and stuff like that. And it's just getting, I'm happy that she's seeing the light finally, but, hopefully it's not, too late. She's going to switch parties now?
What do you think about that, Pete?
Well, she said, with two words she used tied back to the Dwayne Wade clip. I mean, beyond repair and abuse, which is exactly what Dwayne Wade is agreeing to be willing to do to young kids across the country.
Yep.
Change them beyond repair,
yep,
chemically or castrating them at an age where they're completely devoid of the judgment necessary to know anything, let alone what gender they should choose, which is the definition of child abuse.
Yep.
And we should say things like, shame on Dwayne Wade. Shame on you for doing this to young people and selling it as if you're a beacon of goodness. You're a lot. I pray to God that in 30 years, or hopefully sooner than that, way sooner than that, we look back and this is the kind of thing we say, we did that?
Yep.
What monsters? There's always an issue like that. What monsters we were that we were doing that to 13 and 12-year-olds. I would never do that. And Democrats like that saying that are a recognition that maybe we're getting closer to that, but we got a long way to go because this is gospel for the left. This is their true north because it goes back to the garden. It goes back to Adam and Eve and God saying, I made men and I made women. And they say, no, we're God. And if we're God, then there is no man and there is no woman and it's all blurred and you choose it. And for them, it's the ultimate rejection of faith. So it's core to who they are. When they keep losing elections or keep having defectors because they are so much about control, maybe that's when they change their stance.
Adam.
Well, to me, this is a crazy story because I'm a massive Miami Heat fan. Grew up in Miami. I mean, I've been to how many Heat games? It's crazy to count. I've been like all around the Heat. You know, I have friends who are Heat players, like Wade County, bro, Miami Heat. And it's crazy that D Wade has gone from basically being the legend of the Miami Heat, now taking heat for advocating for kids becoming transgender youth, this whole thing. What's the website, Vinny, called? Translatable. So it's so insane to me that this is where D Wade is. He's gone from launching jump shots in Miami to launching websites to help LGBT trans kids cut off their
Adam, what's your point?
I'm getting there, Pat.
I'm trying to get you to get to the point. What's your point? Because we got 8 more stories. You told us Miami. Tell us what's your point.
It just shows how far D Wade has gone from being a man's man. He's been married, I think. He's got 5 kids, 3 baby mamas.
So he
married Gabrielle Union in 2014.
Do you think this is something he's doing because he wants to be a good father? Or you think he's doing this because he wants a good career in Hollywood?
What I'm getting at is, ever since he married Gabrielle Union, there's been clearly some Hollywood infusement. They moved out to L.A. He's gone from literally being an athlete basketball player to a trans advocate. And he's taking heat. It's calling it, what do they say? Sick, degenerate, castrating black kids. Listen, if you want to do your trans thing after 18, go for it. His son, daughter, whatever you call it, did it at 12.
Yeah.
What's the cutoff here? No pun intended. It's crazy to see what's going on here. Like his legacy. We talked about Robert De Niro's legacy, being one of the best actors ever, and now basically just completely alienating half the country. D Wade is being a top 50 greatest player of all time, arguably the top 3 two-guard of all time, but behind MJ, Kobe, there's D Wade. Now your legacy is being an advocate for trans youth of color.
Weird.
It's just
so I'm watching this podcast. I think it's called Drink Champs. I think that's what it's called.
Down in Miami.
Yeah, and these guys, one of the things they were talking about, they said, so what do you think about Kamala Harris? I think it's this one. It could have been a different podcast. And so what do you think about Kamala Harris?
Noriega.
And he says, what do I think about Kamala Harris? I think it's Noriega saying this. He says, so they gave her $100 million to go to Africa, to bring LGBTQ to Africa. They said, nah, you got to get the hell out of here. You can't bring that shit to here.
What?
He says they were not okay with it. They sent her back, right? They sent her back saying, you can't do this to the black community. So it's kind of weird because I don't know if what Dwayne Wade is doing is actually going to be accepted by majority African Americans. I just don't. I think majority of African Americans are going to be like, what are you doing? This is not how we were raised. They're going to go to their grandparents, grandma, what they said, how they were raised. It's a very weird spin he's taken with this position. Again, another person that's taking a position that's going to be weird to go this far out that you're going to be this supportive of it, affecting kids, validates more why we need conservative parents raising kids the way they did. Goes back to that anxious generation guy who said what he said earlier. Okay, so let's go to the next story here, Rob. Next story, I want to go a little bit of business here. So ChatGPT is better than humans at financial forecasting, new study shows. So new study shows OpenAI ChatGPT outperformed human financial analysts, achieving a prediction accuracy of 60% compared to the analyst's low 50% range. According to a study by Booth School of Business at Chicago, the study noted even without any narrative or industry-specific information, the LLM outperforms financial analysts in its ability to predict earnings changes. Damn. The study highlights GPT-4 ability to excel in complex situations where human analysts struggle, utilizing chain of thought, prompts to identify trends and calculate financial ratios. The LLM exhibits a relative advantage over human analysts in situations when the analysts tend to struggle, and applying ChatGPT for financial insights to trading strategies resulted in more profitable outcomes surpassing market performance. Tom.
I think what you're seeing here is that AI with And whenever you see the phrase LLM, large language model, it just means big pile of available data. Just think of it that way. Big pile of data. And when the AI models have the ability to take the data, they can do more faster than humans do. Even humans that have models available, I mean, good grief, humans have all kinds of models. They have got, live trading things, and we have computer models that are tracing momentum of trades and little things that are happening during the day, longs and shorts and calls and puts and everything that are in there for us to trade. And what this is just saying is that, and by the way, the human analysts were 50%, and they're saying that this is 10 percentage points better because the AI model can take more data and go it faster. And basically what this says is this is a sign of things to come, that the standard that we've got and how well we do something today, it goes up another step with NVIDIA chips and these AI models. And so it doesn't surprise me that with the same stack of data, the old way with the models and the computer programs and things it does versus GBT and GPT-4 with what it has, that it's 10% better. It's unsurprising to me.
You're not surprised by it at all?
No, and I think it's a sign of things to come, especially in real-time analytics.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Can this replace financial advisors and financial analysts? Can somebody who is sitting there saying, hey, Chat GPT-4, I'm 49 years old. I have $390,000 in my 401k. I have a $600,000 loan. Here are my expenses. I'm married with 3 kids. They're 18, 16, 14 years old. I have $200,000 in cash. I got a $400,000 policy that's coming up from my father passing away. What is the right investment I should consider right now? What to do with my $400,000? Should I look at small cap, mid cap, large cap, stocks, bonds, real estate? What should I do?
I think you're asking a math problem, and if it's a math problem, the AI models will ultimately give you a better. What you're asking about is portfolio risk theory based on my age. Hey, I'm 40 years old. I've got 3 kids. These are the ages. What you're saying. So, what risk portfolio should I have? The AI models are going to, I believe, be a tool for the financial advisor. I think there still is, you still need the human in this, but the tools that the financial advisors will have for selecting those portfolios and the mixes of how much risk, how much cash, how much bonds, how much this, how much that, because you're talking about risk disbursement and portfolio theory, that part's a math problem, and AI is going to do it better.
Yeah, that's scary. So then AI can't prospect. AI can't ask for referrals. AI can't come to your wedding and spend time with your family and come
build
to your
relationship.
AI can't build relationship, but AI can be complementary to an advisor that's very good with people to accelerate the growth of their book of business. Very interesting. What do you think, as from your space in media? You're with Fox, right? And I have some of the stuff you're comfortable sharing. You're not. I totally understand. How much of it are you guys looking at AI when you're having meetings behind closed doors? Is it, guys, leverage it in the following way? Here's where the threat lies. Here's where the opportunity lies. Are those conversations are being had?
For sure. And right now, it's mostly educate ourselves and educate people about what it is. I mean, I still think there's just a huge knowledge gap between, and for everybody. I'll say, for me, this is a technology that I'm not usually afraid of technological change. Like the internet, fine. Drones in warfare, that's definitely changing. AI, to me, has an aura of uncertainty that I don't like. And I especially think of it through the lens of a parent. I just know my kids are going to engage in such a different way with the world with AI. I look at something like this this is super valuable. You don't have to pay this machine, but it's going to improve your performance by 10%. I mean, that's definitely not going anywhere. And even every time you're searching an item today, some AI is putting together a paragraph that's giving us our information. I mean, that's inconceivable 10 years ago. I just don't like artificial brains, but I understand it's where we're going, and I know we can't put it back in the box. So I'm trying to educate myself and let other people know, but I think it's going to be applied everywhere. I just want to live, in my life though, I want to live a dumber life. Like I don't have Alexa. I don't want it. I don't want my kids talking to machines and machines talking back to them. I still want them opening a book, reading things, learning for themselves, synthesizing, critical thinking. And I think AI is going to start to replace a lot of that. Like just search it up, and there's the answer, as opposed to critical thinking, which humans will always have the advantage of at some level.
Yeah, this actually makes me think about something with, Tom, the Invention Secrecy Act of 1951. You know what it makes me think about? Invention Secrecy Act of 1951 was created. Rob, if you can go for us, we've talked about this at a private dinner before. Can you go to the Wikipedia of Invention Secrecy Act of 1951? Just go to the Wikipedia. To read it, go zoom in a little bit. So that sentence there, okay. So 1952, so the U.S. United States law designed to prevent disclosure of new inventions and technologies that, in the opinion of selected federal agencies, presented an alleged threat to the economic stability or national security of the United States. They have around 6,000 plus patents in here that threatens the United States safety, security. Some of the stuff that's in there, some people claim, are technology that would destroy the oil industries, where you and I can, on a gallon of water, can go 220 miles. Some of the stuff that they have that they don't want it to be public because, oil is a $5 trillion industry, you're done. In America, it's a $500 billion industry. Some of it is, allegedly cures they have for some diseases that would destroy a lot of the big pharma industry, okay? That's out there. So you know what, to me, there's a part of this that could play a big role with AI. If anybody comes out with an AI software that could eliminate humans, the government and the president can activate this to say that patent is going to be kept by us, that cannot be available to you, the people. They pay you 75% around that of what they think that patent is worth, and the government takes that patent away from you. And if you ever sell it to another country, do anything with it, you go straight to jail. Now, whether you agree with this or not, that's not the argument. That's a complete different thing that we can do. I think in the next 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 years, you're going to see this be used to take some of the advanced AI technology that's being created that could get rid of us. So I think that is an angle that we're not even thinking about. That could be happening the next. Shout out to the documentary. If you've never watched the documentary, The Lost Century. I just watched it with Tico for the second time. I had Jennifer watch it. You have to watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. You'll learn a lot about this. It's on your flight back if you watch it. I will. Unfreaking believable.
The Lost Century.
The Lost Century
on Amazon
by
Prime.
Stephen Greer. Stephen Greer is about to be on the podcast.
I got my homework.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. You'll enjoy it. Okay. So next story here. Which one do we want to go to? Do we want to go to... let's talk about this one, Tom. I just think this one's interesting. We didn't talk about it. I want to talk about it because I remember when this happened in 2008 with realtors. Okay. So real estate agents are fleeing the field. Is that good for home buyers? Real estate brokers April Strickland observes a significant mismatch in Gainesville, Florida housing market with more than 1,500 realtors, but only a few hundred homes sold each month, leading to financial struggles for many agents. Quite frankly, realtors are running out of money, Strickland said, highlighting the severe slowdown compared to past downturns. The real estate industry is facing a substantial exodus, with the Bureau of Labor Statistics noting a drop of 72,000 full-time agents and brokers in 2023. New rules stating in August that further pressure realtors as real estate agent database will no longer include offers of compensation for buyer's agent, potentially reducing U.S. commission revenue by 30%. Many industry leaders think there are way too many agents, said Steve Brobick of the Consumer Federation of America. Tom, what do you think about this?
We have gone through time in the real estate industry that all the seasoned people that are really professionals, that are dedicated to their craft and what they do, have said that when times get good, a lot of people are lazy, because you could be lazy and make a reasonable living as a realtor when times are really good. Why? Because everybody's got, one degree of separation to a community around you, and you can sell a few homes and make, $50,000 or $60,000 a year, which is the number I'm quoting, which was this individual said, that when times are really flush, when things are going crazy from 2005, 2007, before the music stopped, you could do it there. And more recently, prior to pandemic. But then what happens? There's a shakeout. And the ones that have long-term relationships with clients, that families expand, they buy a larger house, they move from the area, and you have this, those people are able to weather the storm. It's not easy. And their income goes down at those times. But all the ones that ran in for the easy days end up getting squeezed back out because I just can't make a buck. And look what they said. 1,500 realtors in Gainesville, but only a few hundred homes sold each month. There's the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of those people are probably in full-time jobs. 80%, I'm quoting the Pareto principle, and you would imagine that 80% of them are probably the ones that says, well, I'm going to hang up my license and go back to Home Depot where I was working before all this happened, which is the California joke, because it was a fact that people went from real estate, from Home Depot to real estate and back to Home Depot again from 2005 to 2009. And so I think what's happening here is a natural shakeout of people that are not entrenched. And ultimately, it leaves the good ones in the game who have a long-term career. And so I would argue that maybe the consumer buying and selling a house is a little bit better served by a purification of the professionals that are in a space so that they get better service from people that are dedicated to their career.
Pete, you got friends and family. Everybody's got friends and family in real estate, right?
For sure.
We hear stories all the time. What are you hearing, and what do you think about the story?
Yeah, it does feel like a natural market correction on an industry that was booming for a long time, and recently was involved in real estate transactions, and money's just not cheap the way it was before. People aren't making the changes they would quickly make before. People are sitting on nest eggs, understanding what that value is, understanding what their mortgage is, and then middle class or younger people can't afford then to buy in. There's just less movement. Everyone's kind of sitting, it feels like, in the real estate market, which means if you're a real estate agent, it's time to make a move. But that's also, not to tie it back to politics, but that's also part of the mood. That's the mood of the country right now. No one's moving. I can't move up. I can't move out. I can't make moves because of the economy or because of inflation or because of rates. And I think that's a big part of what we're seeing in political numbers too.
Adam.
When it comes to real estate, I'll give you the 3 L's that I've seen. Getting your license, how you look, and the lifestyle. So getting your license in real estate is very easy. In South Florida here, there's a school called Gold Coast Realty. I got my real estate license, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing in 2005. I literally saw people sleeping outside condos for the opportunity to buy. We talked about Nina, no income, no assets. I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to get my real estate. That's when I was doing everything in the
You say easy,
hotel.
how easy?
I mean, look, there's, the evolution of real estate, especially beautiful girls. They get their license somehow. They're bottle waitresses. They're OnlyFans girls. And then all of a sudden, real estate starts booming. They get their real estate license. The real estate market starts doing bad. They go back to OnlyFans. They go back to bottle waitressing.
God bless them.
And it's the evolution of the looks of the ladies in the real estate game. We all know that it's sort of like a facade almost, what a lot of these realtors do. It's no secret. I think there's like way more homes, way more realtors than there are homes for sale. So not everybody's going to get the business. Like you talked about the Pareto principle, 20% of the realtors get 80% of the business, and 80% of the realtors get 20% of the business. But here's how I'm not hating against real estate, but just not everybody's going to make it. Here's what I've also seen, the lifestyle. If you're a realtor, you have to have a nice car. Imagine your realtor shows up and you're going to talk about $1 million house, much less a $10 million house. Your realtor shows up in a Toyota Corolla. Okay, buddy. Your realtor shows up with a Mercedes-Benz, a Maserati. Okay, this guy probably knows what they're doing. I know a lot of realtors that don't make money, but they're driving nice cars. I also know a lot of realtors, ready for it, that rent. Ton of realtors rent. I would say 50% of the realtors that I know in Miami just rent. Hey, why don't you buy? You're a realtor. Well, the mortgages are expensive, the interest rates are expensive, the taxes are kind of high. By the way, good luck getting homeowners insurance in Miami or in flood zones, ridiculous. By the way, just to flip it, I don't know any financial advisors or stockbrokers that don't own stocks. Think about that for a second. So getting your license is easy. You got to be good looking, and you got to kind of fake it till you make it. Now, the ones that make it are legit. I know realtors who stuck it out after 2008. They made a ton of money in 05, 07. Then it came back. They made a ton of money. They've been realtors for 20 years. But the fly-by-night guys who try to come in and come out and basically ride the wave, they're going to get cast out to sea when the market goes down.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I just pulled up right now. How many total realtors in America? What do you think the number is?
1 million.
Million. That's a lot. What do you think it is?
340 million.
200.
Oh, sorry. That would be everybody. Sorry.
285,000.
400,000.
1.5 million.
Okay, there we go.
By the way, is that higher than you think? I think that's a higher number than I would have thought.
Yeah. No, I knew it was over 1 million.
Me too. 1.5 million is way more than 1 million. That's still 50% more than you thought. So 1.5 million realtors in America. I think life insurance agents, there's only 500,000 of them. If you think about number of insurance
find out how many homes are for sale in America.
Yeah. Well, the part about this is a lot. Like if you think about cops, firefighters, who becomes a realtor, there's a lot of part-time realtors in America.
Yes.
So if you're a part-time realtor, you're always a part-time realtor. What is it now? 1.6.
All right.
Okay, so you
almost 1-to-1,
but it's never 1-to-1 because the top 1% takes 80%. Yeah. The top 1% takes more than 50% of the sales.
The top 20% take 80%, no doubt.
Yeah. So. But when you think about this, some of these guys that get into it part-time, who is paying the price is the guys that bought the 2 Ferrari and the Lambo. And you should never buy it. Those are the guys that are paying the price in a massive, massive way. We're at Mar-a-Lago having 300 people at the event attending a sales leadership summit. I say raise your hand if you're from the mortgage industry. Do you know how many people raise their hand? The year before that, 25% of the room were from the mortgage industry. I said, raise your hand if you're from the mortgage industry. 1 hand went up.
Whoa.
Out of 300. And he was from Canada. He was not even from U.S.
Wow.
Yeah, he wasn't from here.
Only one?
Only one guy's hand went up. All right, next story. What do we want to get to next? Give us a story you guys want to go to. Do you want to go to pension funds? Do you want to go to the Pope? Do you want to go to
Candace and Cardi B?
Let's go to Candace and Cardi B. Here we go. Cardi B hits back at Candace Owens for wanting pornography ban. Okay, big story here, guys. I know a lot of you guys are sensitive with this, so just hang tight. Let's go through this. Here we go. Cardi B defended pornography after Candace Owens called for it to be banned, saying on Instagram, OMG, why y'all so against porn? Is it that bad for y'all? I enjoy it, but I don't know. I guess it's like a 6-time-a-year thing. I personally don't feel no connection or addiction to it, just a little quick 1 or 2. Nothing like real intimacy, she added. It actually should teach men how to please a woman. Okay, Candace Owens sparked the debate by tweeting, ban pornography, it's psychological weapon intended to weaken our men. Cardi B responded, challenging the idea and defending the potential educational value of pornography. Cardi B, who previously supported Joe Biden 2020 election, announced she won't be voting for Biden or Trump in the upcoming election, citing layers and layers of disappointment. Pete.
Well, I agree. I mean, I agree with Candace Owens on this. I don't see the upside of it. I see the way it wrecks young men. It's not going to happen. I do like what states are doing. I think what's the policy that Florida has pursued? You have to, is it age verification or something along the lines of you have to prove that you're over 21 or over 18 on any of these porn websites, and you have to use your real name and a real email or whatever it is to do it. And as a result, traffic has dropped by like 90% on a lot of these sites. I just think that's good for society. I think it's good for marriages. I think it's good for men. I think it's good for kids. I think it's good for women. I don't see a lot of good, and I don't say that as someone who's a Puritan in every way, but I agree with her.
I think, well, I mean, let's think about, you guys know what the oldest profession in the world is?
Hooking.
Prostitution. Yeah, for 1238. That's the I mean, it goes way back. Tom, we know about this. But anyway, I think I don't watch it, but I could see, like, when it comes to prostitution and strip clubs and all that stuff, think about those crazy guys that need that release. Mm-hmm. And if they don't get it from somewhere else, Pete, I think those guys are going to be out in the streets. Well, they're going to be out looking for it. It's
always going to be available.
Oh, 100%. I don't think making it illegal, because I think some people who are overly sexualized and they have to, like, they need to watch that. I want those people watching it and not going out and trying to take it out on actual women. What do you think, Tom?
It does not surprise me that someone like Candace Owens, who represents herself as being a woman of class and a woman of moral fiber, is going to say this, and she's absolutely correct. It also doesn't surprise me that Cardi B, coming from the liberal entertainment industry, where no holds barred, and we go to Cannes every year for film festivals that push and push and push the bounds of what's acceptable or shocking or sexual, to have regular movies to being just an inch from porn. Does it surprise me that she says, oh, it's not a bad thing, and she's speaking like a you know, a 50-year-old married guy, well, it's just 5 times a year or whatever. Yeah. It doesn't surprise me. So it doesn't surprise me that there's this debate here. And, you know, I wish Cardi B could see the impact on the other side of the wall, because she's in the bubble. And she's in a bubble where entertainment and everything says, hey, this is okay, this is what it is, all things permissible. She's in a bubble. I wish she could see the other side and see a lot of the things, because we know Candace. And Candace is research-driven, and she comes from a moral foundation. And so it doesn't surprise me there's a debate here, and I just wish people in the bubble could see the facts and figures about what's happening on the other side, because there's a lot of human wreckage.
Well, Cardi B and Candace Owens are literal polar opposites. You couldn't have the moral fiber difference between the two of them. But I will say that I think that Cardi's actually right on this one. I'm not saying that she's in the right. I'm actually saying that there's a difference between what would actually happen and what you would love to happen. Idealistic thinking and reality. I also think that there's the probable and the improbable. Here's the reality. Porn's not going anywhere, as much as Candace wants to banish it away. Just like alcohol wasn't going anywhere during Prohibition, just like drugs aren't going anywhere, there's always going to be a black market for all this stuff. Good luck telling a 13-year-old kid who just saw boobs for the first time, yeah, bro, don't go look online. Okay, let's see how that happens. So, by the way, Cardi B, I literally think, was a sex worker that drugged men to steal their money at one point. Didn't
she used to do it a bunch of
times. Exactly. That's her thing. But here's some stats for you. By the way, do you know that the porn industry generates more money combined than the NFL, NBA, and MLB? They make $97 billion a year. All the sports, all the athletes, everyone you're thinking of, they don't make as much money as the Lisa Anns of the world that's been here on the podcast. So 93% of boys and 62% of girls watch porn before turning 18. This is according to the Institute of Family Studies stats. 69% of men and 40% of women have watched porn this year. 44% of men and 11% of women have watched porn in the last month. And men in their 30s and 40s are most likely to watch porn, Vinny. But here's some good news.
I don't watch porn.
81% of women over 65 have never watched porn. So your grandma's probably not watching porn.
But Mike just sent it to me, PBD. Pornhub disabled its website in Texas after the Fifth Circuit Court Appeals upheld the age verification requirement last. Yeah. That's crazy.
Well, I think that's the larger point is, okay, yes, it will always be there. It's always going to be, somebody's going to be able to find it. There's no doubt. You don't put the genie back in the box. But if you can have common sense restrictions that prevent people who otherwise casually wouldn't do it, or kids from doing it, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Dude, so, I mean, we all remember when we were 13, 15, 17.
Like, had one VHS.
If you got a Playboy magazine or, God forbid, a Hustler magazine, bro, it was like you were the coolest kid in school. But like that was a magazine. Now so, you just go on the internet. It's insane what these kids can get access.
I think Pamela Anderson. Rob, if you can go to 15 seconds, go to 15 seconds. So Pamela Anderson is being interviewed here, and she's talking about porn, and she's talking about what it's like when she's out with men and what they do to her, and she's teaching her sons about sex and the dark side of porn. And by the way, when you think about Pamela, look what she says. You play this clip. Go ahead. Watch this.
And I think we need a sensual revolution, because in the age of technology, there's so much access, and I feel like people are becoming desensitized, and there's the multiple visual images that get weirder and stranger, and it's a big concern. I have children, and 2 teenage boys, and you have a child, and it's
14-year-old boy.
It's worrisome, and I talk to a lot of mothers, and I know I'm part of the problem. I should probably disqualify myself from this whole situation, because I was in Playboy, and I had a tape stolen from my home and exploited all over the world, and people saw things that they should have never seen. But I didn't think Playboy was pornographic.
No, and I think people, I'm sure, will say, Pamela Anderson is saying, don't watch porn. Hang on, she did naked.
Have you ever been treated like a porn star in bed? It's no fun at all. Slapped, hit, called names, spit on.
Is that schmooly?
That's sex.
And have you experienced that?
I have, and I never want to have that happen again.
Go back 10 seconds, Rob.
Because I think that's sex at all.
Okay,
slapped, hit, called names, spit on. That's sex.
And have you experienced
that? I have, and I never want to have that happen again, because I think people also put that image on me thinking they have to be wild and crazy, and then I'm thinking, God, this porn addiction, when a woman who is, living, breathing, lying in bed, and your husband's in the bathroom with a computer, There's something going on that's not normal.
I can't imagine any husband of yours being in the bathroom with a computer.
I mean, who has more moral authority to talk on this than
it's Pamela.
Pamela Anderson.
Yeah.
What do you think about what she said? What do you think about what she said?
I think how could she not be I mean, of course she's correct in the distorting aspects of these types of things. What young men, I mean, I think about what I was exposed to. We all go through a learning curve, right? It's a learning curve of, you're deciphering squiggly lines, and then if your learning curve is explicit porn, and then you're with your girlfriend or your wife or your fiance, and that's your view of sex, of course it's going to be distorted. Of course you're going to do things you shouldn't. It's not going to be intimate the way that it ought be. She's right. And to your point earlier, what a great spokesman. The best spokesman for things are people you wouldn't expect to be a spokesman for it.
Yeah, if there's anybody who's qualified to speak on it, again, it's her to give that perspective. And by the way, I got boys, and I'm talking to these guys about this stuff all the time. Like, you'll go to a game, and you see 6 boys are at the baseball game. They're all like, one of the kids has a phone, and they're like, oh, that's coming, that's coming. I'm like, okay, I kind of get what the hell is going on. And so what do you think about what the stuff you guys are seeing? What do you think about this? And having that open conversation with them is key. If you don't have the conversation, that's the problem. You got to have the open conversation and break it down for them on what, you're going to be exposed to this. Yeah. You're going to be exposed to drugs. You're going to be exposed to cocaine. You're going to be exposed to weed. You're going to be exposed to all this stuff. But here's what you need to know about any of this stuff. You got any questions? And then giving them context and stuff to see, to be ready for it, because it's coming. No matter whether you like it or not, they're going to be exposed to all of this. Back in the days was a VHS.
And we all shared it.
In our Army unit, we had this guy in the corner. He was an E5. We walk in, and everyone's calling him the GOAT. I'm like, why is this guy the GOAT? Guys, the GOAT is coming to our unit. The big 6'5" black guy comes in, and he talks like this. Hey, Vinny. How you doing? I'm good. He just talks very soft. So I'm like, what? Why did they call this guy the GOAT? Yeah. I'm trying to find out what this good. And then you go into this barracks in the corner that was only for E5s. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you go in, and you see hundreds of VHS on top. He said, this guy's the greatest of all time. He's got the greatest porn collection of all time. What do you want? Oh, my God. What type?
Debbie does
what
that
this? He had everything. Guess what? The unit was like always going through it. But today, it's not a VHS. Yeah. Today, it's called this thing right here.
And then people spend, since COVID, astronomically way more time on their phone. The problem that young people are dealing with at this point since COVID is they don't know about IRL, in real life. And whether that's playing video games rather than getting outside and playing actual games, whether it's going on dating apps and rather than going on actual dates, or whether it's watching porn rather than going out there and actually meeting women, it's a pervasive problem.
By the way, not I know you want to move on. Just, you want to talk about access? I don't know if you guys caught it. I almost shit my pants. I went to X to try to send him the video of the bulldog. I typed in on X, bulldog humping steering wheel, and I pushed enter, and it was gay porn. It was a guy with a bulldog mask.
Vinny,
that was your previous.
He's going to go back. He's going to say, what did you think? Vinny watches gay porn.
During the show.
Did you see it?
Unbelievable.
He looked down when I was like,
Vinny,
bulldog.
That was your previous history. Relax, bro.
No, what I'm saying is,
how you doing, dog?
How easy it is. Like, PBD, that's an accident. So if a kid can get on X.
Gosh. By the way, so guess what? For those of you that are part of the LGBTQ community, you can connect Vinny right there and ask him any questions you want. Now you know his porn appetite. All right, let's go to the next story and then we'll wrap up. Let me see which one I want to go to. I want to go to this one here, okay? The Pope. Pope apologizes. Very, very tough. After being quoted using vulgar term about gay men in talk about ban or gay priests. Rob, if you can pull up the story, because I can't read, you know what I'm saying? If he can pull it up, the way he says it, like, there's a part of me that thinks this guy's maybe a gangster that we don't even know about. Italian media on Monday had quoted unnamed Italian bishops in reporting that Francis jokingly used the word. Can you zoom in very closely? Don't zoom in. I got it, Tom. Zoom in so that, okay. While for the people that are in Spotify, Apple, Anchor, you're listening to this, go Google this quote. Let me read it again from the beginning, Rob, if I can. Italian media on Monday had quoted unnamed Italian bishop reporting that Francis jokingly used the term with the F while speaking Italian during the encounter. He used the term in reaffirming the Vatican ban on allowing gay men to enter seminaries and be ordained priests. Pete, thoughts on this?
We know the Catholic Church has a problem with this. It appears,
say the
least. So it's good to hear the Pope's over the target in problem identification. It's also nice. I mean, I don't condone use of the phrase, but it's good that he's recognizing it and maybe trying to do something about it, considering the rest of his priorities seem to be climate change and whatever Marxist cause. I mean, the guy's a Marxist, the current Pope is. He said, when you read into this, he openly says there are seminaries where this is just open. The well-known culture is that it's a gay culture. Well, if the church bans that and you know that's happening, you ought to do something about that.
Do you guys remember but it's kind of weird, though, that he's calling them this word. Do you guys remember a couple months ago, Rob, I sent you the video. Pope Francis invited 120 transgenders to launch the Vatican for the first time with over 900 other invitees. Do you guys remember this one?
Yeah.
Look at these
We're all
buttes.
going today on a bus to the Vatican to have lunch with Pope Francis.
This is real?
On
This is
Sunday,
real.
the pontiff hosted a lunch for more than 1,000 people to mark the Catholic Church's World Day of the Poor. Francis's friendship
Those are
with
poor?
the Torballanica trans community began during Italy's strict COVID-19 lockdown, when Father Andrea Conocchia found sex workers
People are
showing up
pissed.
at his church asking for help to survive. The Vatican stepped in, providing food, medicine, hygienic supplies, and even vaccines.
Yeah, so he's
marginalized.
Yeah, they're victims.
Wow. Any thoughts on this, Tom? Where are you at with this?
Look, if the Pope wants to be a voice, I would hope that voice doesn't use slurs like this, because it's a slur. And, once you have the slurs out there, you really can't have a dialogue anymore, because then people are triggered and they're upset. And I think the other side of it is, factually speaking, it kind of confuses me because of what the church has been openly conflicted about. And so it really hasn't stayed on one side or the other. It's been fighting a PR war of arguing of some realities that have existed there for decades.
Adam?
You're not supposed to say the F word, but everybody knows he's talking about fettuccine alligator, whatever it is. But the reality is, I don't know another religion that you have to be celibate. Correct me if I'm wrong. Respect to my Catholic friends out there. Like in Islam, you can have multiple wives. In Mormonism, more women, more wives. I don't know how natural it is for a man to go his entire life, whether you're gay, straight, up, down, left, right, to not have any sexual intercourse, and then you're locked in a little room and people tell you all their deepest, darkest secrets. It's just, I'm not condoning that whatsoever, but if you're living that life, you're going to do some weird stuff. So I'm not shocked that all these priests who are living this life of celibacy kind of get caught doing the touchy-feely with the kids. It's so screwed up, but it's part of that lifestyle.
What do you think,
Good luck
Matt?
out there.
Listen, I think common sense eventually prevails, and he's sitting there wondering what his legacy is going to be known for, the amount of dumb positions he took, and now he's trying to figure out a way to backtrack because he's about to be replaced. He's going to have another person taking over, and guess what? They're going to remember how you finish things, and he's slowly going a different direction than where they were before, which is going back to common sense. For me, the main thing that matters is when we started this whole thing off with Harvard, and he said Harvard got started because of clergy and, wanting to share faith and the 3 books, the old, the new, and the one to come and all this stuff. Okay. And now you have atheists, you have people that are in a complete different position defending that. The Pope, some of the things we read about him the last few years didn't make sense as a person to be the Pope representing Catholics. And I even have a lot of friends within the company that are Catholics that are like, look, I don't necessarily agree with the Pope, but I'm a Catholic, but. So you don't want to have somebody that's taking a position like that, but it is what it is. We'll see what's going to happen next with the position he's taking. Anyways, great podcast today, gang. Here's what we're going to do. I want you to go place an order and order Pete's book, The War on Warriors. Pete, 30 seconds. Tell us about the book here, Behind the Betrayal of the New the men who keep us free.
You know, you served. The military is supposed to be a meritocracy. It's a meritocracy that can be lethal whenever we need it to. In the last 20 years, it's been infected by ideologies that distract it from that intent, whether it's woke stuff, social justice stuff, gender stuff, environmental stuff, the obsession with electric tanks, stuff that doesn't make us more lethal, that it doesn't point toward a meritocracy and poisons the ranks. So I saw it firsthand. I joined the Army to fight extremists. 20 years later, I was deemed an extremist because of a tattoo I have on my chest, and I left the military. I know scores and scores of guys who face the same thing on any number of issues. So I interviewed dozens of actively serving guys, gals, ranks, officers enlisted. The feeling is pervasive that we're losing our military from what it was. A new commander-in-chief's got to do some dramatic things to bring it back.
What's the tattoo? Now you got me thinking.
It's a Jerusalem cross. So it's a religious tattoo. It has nothing to do with white nationalism or extremism. It's a cross you'll see in Jerusalem when you visit. Christianity is near and dear to who I am. It was after January 6th. I was in the D.C. National Guard. I was supposed to be guarding the inauguration. I had orders like everybody else. Remember that half the National Guard was there. And I quietly got a phone call from a member of my unit saying, "Your orders are revoked. You don't need to show up." Wow. And I said, "Why?" He said, "I can't tell you that right now, but you just don't need to be there." At that moment, I could tell it was something. Was it because I work at Fox? Was it because I like Donald Trump? What was it? Well, I found out when I was writing the book, when I was able to go back and ask the question, I was deemed an extremist by the leadership of my unit because of a tattoo. That's the rationale that they used. And you'll meet phrases like patriot extremism, which are being used in our military. Gadsden flags, don't tread on me. You can't have those on military bases anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Because it could be a sign of extremism. So you're going to learn a lot from the book, The War on Warriors. I think it's certainly with your background, Pat, I think you'd love it.
Well, brother, thank you for your service. This book comes out June 4th. He's already written many New York Times. Go ahead and support the book. Place the order. Rob, put the link in description, in chat, everywhere so people can get it as well. For everybody else, tomorrow night, 6 to 9, Dave Smith, Chris Cuomo, live on YouTube. It'll be all over the place. Looking forward to those of you guys that are coming. Obviously, the event is sold out. But for everybody else on the net that'll be watching, this is one a lot of people have been looking forward to for a while. If you have any questions or any thoughts or any ideas, Rob, if you can connect Dave Smith, because Dave is on Connect. Okay, I don't know if you have his Connect or not, Rob. You can go find Dave on Connect. You can go find Chris Cuomo on Connect. Both of them are there. Whatever you may say to say, hey, can you bring this up? Can you bring that up? Can you talk about this? Can you talk about that? Both of them are on Connect for you to be able to communicate with them and ask them the questions that they have. Just go download the app, Connect, on Android and Apple. And once you do, the QR code is on the top right. You can find Dave Smith. You can find Chris Cuomo. You got questions for me as well. Ask it tomorrow. And that's going to be a special one. It's a conversations people have been waiting for a long time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.